So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. And welcome back to my hot ass trailer with no AC, except for this tiny little AC that's sitting in the window right there. It has been a really long, torturous, stressful day. I think, at least. I'm surprised I didn't die of a fucking heat stroke today. Where to even begin? Still waiting on the AC guy who's supposed to come today. It's now 6 o'clock in the evening, and I still haven't seen him. But the landlord just finally replied back. How you doing, Mr. Madoff? Thank you for thinking so highly of me. Sexy don't pay the bills, though. Landlord just texts back that it's in the AC guy's hands. And said he's coming. Yeah, well, you haven't sent me any money yet. So if Sexy's gonna pay the bills, man, show me. But, anyways. I am just fucking worn out. Didn't get to sleep much last night. The the coolness is not making it into my bedroom at all. Even though I got a AC unit here blowing at my box fan, and I got my box fan blowing back into the bedroom. It's the best configuration I could come up with. It has been really kind of torturous. Just trying to wait for this fucking shit to get fixed. Starting to wonder if my landlord even wants me here. Hoping he realizes that it's going to cost him a whole lot more money to try to rent this place out to somebody else. And there's going to be a whole lot of downtime. He's still got another trailer for rent. He's losing money on that one. If he wants to just lose money on this one, by all means, don't fix this shit until I move out. My big worry, of course, with moving out is the fish tanks. What the hell am I going to do with all those? Just leave them here and let everything die, basically, is my only option. Welcome, viewers number 1, 2, and 3. Don't forget to click the like button, y'all. So, I've just been watching the news all day. Went and took a little visit to my stepdad's house. Did not smoke any weed. Still haven't smoked any weed. Called Walmart about the job. By all means, donate for my new AC, yes. Acadian Mariculture at iCloud.com. ACADIAN MARICULTURE at iCloud.com is the address to send it to on PayPal. And no, I don't have it typed into the description, I'm sorry. Because I can't type a description on here because I'm live streaming from a phone. And for some reason, you can't do that on a phone. You added it to my description? How'd you manage that? I would have to find a computer to sign in from to do that. And my computer's not working because it's not plugged in, and I have this AC unit plugged in where that's supposed to be plugged in. So I'm not on the computer. And besides that, I don't really want a bunch of spam sent to that email address, because the only reason why I use that email address right now is because it's a new email address. And I don't want spam sent to it. I've got nothing but important things in that inbox, including stuff from work. So, but anyways, it has been an extra long, extra tedious day. I don't know why I pack these cigarettes. It doesn't do any good. They don't really pack. But I'm just like, out of habit, I pack them. Y'all don't forget to click the like button. Nobody's clicked the like button yet. Because that helps, right? It's supposed to help something, right? That sounds like a lot of effort. Far more than a Capricorn like me can do. Especially with the hefty dose of fuck it that I've been feeling today. It's just so goddamn hot and tedious in here. Oh, and apparently flies have been coming from inside my kitchen drain. Well, you see, I had the Easy Reefers PayPal. But my wife had access to that. So I just made this new PayPal. And, I mean, frankly, I don't think anybody's going to send me any money just because I put it in the description. If people are going to send me money, they're going to send me money because they want to send me money. Having it in the description is not going to do anything but get me spam. You understand? So it's not laziness, it's pointless. I can't be convinced that there's a point to that. If you wanted to send me money, you could just write it down or type it out while I said it. Or just remember it, acadianmariculture@icloud.com. If I put it in the description, all I'm doing is getting myself spam. That's all I'm doing. And increasing the risk that somebody hacks my PayPal. And I really don't want somebody hacking my PayPal. Even if I were to make a new PayPal, that would just be there for them to hack. And then they could fuck with me. If somebody hacked my PayPal, that basically gives them access to my checking account. And I don't want that. Yeah, because that's how I get my money transferred, just to my checking account. So, ACADIAN MARICULTURE @icloud.com. Oh, I have a hard password. It's a very hard password. But, you know, there's an app for that. People don't need passwords to crack your password. If somebody wants to crack your password, they can crack your password. 20 years ago, believe me, I could crack your password. All I'd have to do is go on a little website called astalavista.com and download a tool called Jackhammer. Like I said, man, if you want to send me money, send me money. It's not going to change anything except for getting me spam. It's going to be just wasted effort. Anyways, sitting here in my underwear with my little sexy skater legs, skinny ass legs. They used to be sexy skater legs. Now they're just kind of skinny ass legs. And the worst part about having skinny legs is it makes my feet look even bigger. That's a big fucking foot right there. Jesus Christ. That just looks out of proportion. So yeah. But it's been kind of an eventful news day. The abortion clinic in Missouri was granted a stay. Yeah, people who have more viewers than me, probably. But I think anybody who wants to send me money has gotten the verbal iteration, especially on the couple of fundraising videos that I've actually made. I could put it in the title, but I'd have to space it out. I'm not going to make it like a clickable link, because again, I don't want the spam. Trump and the Republicans are starting to say that they want Mueller to testify now because they want to try to like tear him a new one. That's interesting. Let's see what else happened today. Trump's also trying to levy a tariff against Mexico. Tariff against Mexico, because it's not like we've got like a bunch of businesses that depend on Mexican products here in America. I wasn't a big fan of NAFTA, but the manufacturing economy is already ruined. All that this is going to do is make it harder for, namely American auto manufacturers. Fucking lips are all crusted and dry from being in the fucking heat all day. So I'm just waiting on the fucking AC guy, man. Well, you want to write it down now? Grab. I'll say it again. Tell me when you're ready. Dingo, why aren't you in your spot? What are you doing right there? Lay in your spot. In your spot. You silly old dog. You trying to cool off by laying in a different spot? Yeah, I hear you. I've been trying to lay in a different spot all day. Ooh. Welcome viewers number 3 and 4, and thank you for whoever clicked the like button. I'm not being mean to him. He has a spot with a little rug. He's supposed to lay on the little rug. I don't want him getting his dandruff and fur everywhere. And he's not the dog, he's my dog. He's my puppy dog. He's a good boy. Dingo, you a good boy? He's just looking at me like, why the fuck is it so hot in here? Oh. I just keep on getting his fleas on me. Because I don't have any fucking flea shampoo, so I can't bathe his ass. Except for with dish liquid, and dish liquid doesn't do nothing for fleas, man. It kills the ones that are on him, but it doesn't kill the eggs. So, like I bathed him like just a little over a week ago. And the fucking fleas just came right back on him. Now it's hardly worth the effort. That I'm being lazy on. I've been putting that off for no reason, I admit that. Oh yeah, I stopped myself in the middle of talking about the job thing. Walmart. I went and called the guy at Walmart, and he says that they're going to be calling people for interviews starting tomorrow. And hopefully they'll call me. I don't know. Not much I can do about that. At this point, I still got my little couple of hours worth of work at fucking Advantage Solutions doing samples at Walmart. But they've cut my hours severely. I'm working like once or twice a week. No, Sean needs a sugar mama. Speaking of sugar mamas, I kinda almost have one. But not really, like just I've been talking to this girl, Karma, a whole lot, and she's very supportive. And I was hoping she'd be moving in with me soon. But like I said on the last video, kind of late into the last video, shit, if I missed that one, that was my fault. She went to tell her boss. Yeah, she works. She makes decent money. She went to tell her boss that she was quitting to move down here. And her boss offered her $4,000 as a completion bonus to stay there till they're done their contract, which is going to be till mid-August. So instead of having a roommate come down here and help me pay bills now, I will have somebody who can help me move to a new place. But I gotta wait till fucking mid-August. But I've been talking to her like for hours at a time every day, and I've become really like accustomed to her voice, I guess I should say. I'm starting to think the AC guy isn't coming. It's almost 7 o'clock. So I've been sitting in this house with no AC all fucking day, and apparently I gotta do it again tomorrow. That really sucks. So the girl Karma, she's an Aquarius. She's from Minnesota. She's 5'6", pretty cute, and I just like her personality. I don't know, maybe I'm easy to please, but I've just had a good feeling about her since the first time I talked to her. And I seem to have some kind of a mental connection with her. She doesn't have any kids. That's like an extra bonus. I mean, not that I mind kids, but you know, I just spent the past 8 years of my life raising somebody else's kids only to get nothing for it. So, if I had my choice between a woman with kids and without kids, at this point, I'd say without kids would be better off. Does she have money? If not, find another. I think she's making $14 an hour where she is right now, which is fucking decent enough money for me. But still, I gotta wait till mid-August for her to move down here. And I gotta hang on to this place in the meantime, which means getting the fucking landlord to fix the AC in it. And getting the damn grass cut. Which I'm trying to find somebody I can pay to do. Hundigo. I gotta find somebody to pay to cut the grass, because I can't cut the grass. Because the landlord made me get rid of my fucking lawn tractor. And I am not about to even try to cut all this fucking grass by hand. With a push mower? It's a fucking quarter-acre lot. Fuck no. I think I found where the fucking flies were coming from. I think I already said that. My sink. I went to drain a can of tuna today so I could make some tuna salad. And they just like came up from the drain. Like it was fucking disgusting. Let me go get some fucking water. Switch out my water for cold water. So yeah, it has been really hot in here all fucking day long, man. Oh. I just hope it cools down enough tonight for me to sleep. Because I did not sleep very much last night, man. It's been really kind of sucking. Haven't taken any anxiety meds today, though. So let me go ahead and take one right now so I can get a little buzz going. Hopefully Walmart will call me back. Call me in for an interview. Hoping they call me tomorrow. They said either Saturday, Monday, or Tuesday they're supposed to be calling people in for interviews. So I guess I'll see if I get picked. I should be able to pass a piss test by now. It's been 4 days since my little relapse and almost 2 weeks total since I smoked. And it'll definitely be 2 weeks by Monday or Tuesday. And I wasn't really smoking heavy before that, so I should be clean by now. It It's so tempting just to pick up my bowl and hit it right now. Oh, I wish I could smoke. It's just sitting there looking all packed, ready to be smoked, and I can't smoke it. Dingo don't care, huh, Dingo? But anyways, so let me put this Chuck Todd clip on and see if there's any news worth commenting on for today. You want to listen to some news with me?
If it's Friday, a bad week gets even worse for President Trump. Could his latest self-destructive crisis-creating move be simply an effort to distract from impeachment?
Hello, Kitty.
And if it is, well, Katie barred the door. The steady trickle of Democrats calling for impeachment right now could turn into a flood. Plus, newly discovered evidence from a dead man's hard drive that the Trump administration's changes to the census were really about one thing and one thing only.
And there she goes.
Increasing the power of white Republican voters. Welcome to Friday, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Meet the Press Daily. Good evening. I'm Chuck Todd here in Washington. And we begin tonight with a giant mess, illuminated by some pretty incredible reporting surrounding the president's threat to impose sweeping and massive tariffs on Mexico unless it steps up its immigration enforcement. And the big question is, why now? And does this signal the president isn't actually eager for the impeachment debate? An administration official tells NBC News that this threat against Mexico to impose penalties as high as 25% on all Mexican goods was hurried out the door to simply appease President Trump. One administration source said the threats were left intentionally vague so that the White House had an easy off-ramp. Evidence that this could be nothing but a bluff. And get this, another source said the administration timed this threat knowing that there'd likely be a seasonal drop in illegal immigration, so the president could claim credit for something that was already expected to happen. And in addition to the policy chaos, there's the blowback. Sources tell NBC News that the Treasury Secretary and the U.S. Trade Representative both opposed the move, that business groups were not notified in advance, that relevant congressional committees were not even briefed. Mitch McConnell is publicly withholding his support, so is the Republican chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee. And we've seen other rank-and-file Republicans just outright oppose the move altogether. And don't forget, this threat has the added risk of torpedoing the administration's efforts to ratify NAFTA 2.0, also known
Y'all hear
as
that?
USMCA.
Oh, y'all can hear that better than me. I'm the one with my head right up against the AC, you know.
Likely ineffective, economically dangerous, and politically untenable threat rolled out the door. And why now? Yes, it comes amid an influx at the border. But it also comes amid a growing number of Democrats calling for an impeachment inquiry after Bob Mueller broke his silence and basically handed them the baton to determine if the president's actions were indeed impeachable. That tally right now has ticked up to 52 Democrats and 1 Republican. And today, the Democratic chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, where an impeachment inquiry would legally begin, said he believes there is justification for impeachment. So if this border threat is a bluff, the story has giant political implications for Democrats. So we're joined by a member of House leadership. It's Democrat Debbie Dingell of Michigan. And if this border threat isn't a bluff, it'll have major implications for the border. In a moment, I'll be joined by someone who ran it, former DHS Secretary Jay Johnson. But let's begin with the politics and Congress and Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. She is co-chair of the Democratic Policy and Communications Committee. Congresswoman, I want to just start simply with, what was your initial reaction to the president's announcement last night?
Chaos, total chaos. I am somebody who lives in a state that needs a new NAFTA. What, tariffs are an economic tool to level the playing field for working men and women across this country. What he did last night is one of my problems with his, I've said I've worked with him on trade policy. I meant I've worked with him on trade policy.
Apparently one of the viewers doesn't want to listen to the
what
news.
he did last night just
Listen to the news.
I'm just totally aghast.
Mr. Maida, are you still there?
Does this torpedo NAFTA 2.0?
I think that's probably the one that doesn't
I
like
want
the
to get
news.
back to the Congress next week. I've been back here talking to everybody, and my workers, I've been in a lot of union halls, want to see a trade deal passed. So, you know, I can't, my job is to deliver for them, but if he keeps on this path, I think it's a very good chance it's going to torpedo something that he promised the workers in my state he'd deliver on.
I mean, they started the clock. I don't want to get off on sort of legislative speak here, but essentially what made no sense about last night's announcement is it came on the same day that the administration decided they were getting impatient with you guys in Congress and saying, hey, step up, let's get this passed sooner.
Anyways, thanks to whoever's still watching.
Sooner, then why
Appreciate you
why
joining.
do what they did last night?
It just makes no sense. I mean, I simply can't understand it. And he, you know, I've always been a Democrat that said if you do this right, you fix the enforcement on Mexico, fix pharmaceutical drugs, I'm going to be there.
I'm just waiting on, I guess, Carmen to call me
And then all
back.
of a sudden, a lot of Republicans started supporting this. Well, he got blown apart today by Republicans, and some of the most important Republicans that there are in the Senate.
Come, Camellia.
Absolutely. And Mitch McConnell, Senator McConnell, leader of the Senate, has withheld his support. This is chaos, and we cannot rule by chaos in this country.
Do you think this is somehow related to Robert Mueller coming out on Wednesday?
You know, we know that he's very effective at messaging, and we know that every time, I mean, I think Robert Mueller on Wednesday told everybody, Republicans and Democrats, do your job. The president always gets very uptight when he hears people saying things like this, and is very good at deflecting on
So
message.
cheap Mexican beer is going to get a lot less cheap.
I can't.
Oh, you're still there.
His trade policy,
Okay.
when I'm someone that would be more likely to help him than not at times, is his inconsistency, the randomness of it, and the total chaos of it.
Love him will
Very
be
interesting. I
because
just
of my
something you said when I
dream.
brought up Robert Mueller. You
Red,
said
gold, and
you thought the
green.
message Robert Mueller sent to Congress
Red,
was do your
gold,
job.
and
What's your job? Did you hear?
What's your
Did
job?
you hear open a
Every
grand jury
day
inquiry, i.e.
is like
impeachment inquiry?
survival.
You know, I'm one of the people that have,
You're my
even if you tell
lover,
everybody to
not
read this
my
report, if you haven't read the report, read it.
rival.
I still want to see him testify, by the way, because I hate parsing people's words and everybody else's. But there is a very that theme that is throughout this report about how Russia is trying to divide this country. And I don't want to play into Russia's hands and divide this country more with a partisan impeachment. So I am totally schizophrenic right now about all of
You're
the things
schizophrenic.
that are in there.
Bitch, you ain't
I do
schizophrenic.
think he
I'm
was
schizophrenic.
telling people that his report is his testimony. People can interpret
And I know
that
another
or it
schizophrenic
can
when I
be
see
what
one.
we
You,
want
my
it to
dear, are
be, I
not
guess.
schizophrenic.
But I have read it. I'm on my third reading now. And
Yeah.
I think we have to do this in a bipartisan way. I think Republicans and Democrats have a responsibility.
There's one member of your delegation that's a Republican that held a town hall and some would say is laying out a case for impeachment much more thoroughly than any Democrat. And I'm referring to obviously Justin Amash.
I respect him very much. He and I have been colleagues since I got here. His office was next to mine. I don't agree with him, although he and I vote more often on some issues than when it comes to, I mean, he's a libertarian. He believes in protecting civil liberties, but he also always votes the way that he thinks. And he's a very honest, he can drive some people nuts. It probably included me some days, but I really respect him.
It's funny that you said you've been schizophrenic about
So
this
yesterday,
issue.
a tick came
Frankly,
from the
I feel like the
window.
Democratic Party in general
Today, an
has.
ant,
I
a
wanna
big
play
fucking
you
ant
some
was
sound
on
from
me.
both Jerry Nadler, Speaker Pelosi, and yourself on this, and just sort of try to get a sense of where we're headed. Take a listen. Number one, guys.
Impeachment is a political act, and you cannot impeach a president.
Oh, welcome viewers number 2 and 3. Feel free to say hello in the comments.
And we cannot.
Literally just sitting in here in my underwear.
We understand our oath of office to support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
We don't need a country when it comes to impeachment.
And you see where I'm getting here? I think the confusion is this, and I think, look, we've had this discussion, I think you and I off the record about
Click the like button
the
if you
issue
like
of
underwear.
what's playing politics. Not impeaching? Is that the
Yes, hello.
Impeaching, is that the
Beesh Simmons.
The last time I feel
Nice
like
to
your
see you.
party
Thanks for
had
clicking the like
divide
button.
was over the Iraq war issue, where a lot of people were thinking politically, and what was good politics in the moment turned out to be bad politics 5 years later.
You know, I'm doing what I think is right for the country. And that is, I think we have a fundamental responsibility. We take the oath to protect the Constitution.
Oh, it's Lacey.
And
Hi,
you
Lacey.
read that report, and I know you've read that report like I have, Mueller talks about how
thank you to
Russia
whoever
is
else clicked the like
attacking
button.
fundamental
3 likes,
pillars
woohoo.
of our Constitution. They're trying to divide us. So how do we keep, I'm very worried about how divided we are as a country. And I think we're at a precipice. So the question is,
Oh, well,
how
thank
do
you.
we bring people together to do what's right, to protect this democracy that's more precious than people realize?
But can it be done if the president himself isn't cooperating?
He's putting kerosene on a fire. He's refusing to send people up to the hill. At some point, people
no.
are going to be driven to have no choice. And
If I was masturbating, I'd be leaning back a whole lot more.
Senator Bob Griffin many a decade ago as an intern, I was shown.
This would not be a water
bottle.
bottle.
How people watched. It was a Republican, and
That's right.
One of the turning points. I flew with him
Yeah,
back to
doesn't that look
Washington
awkward?
the day that he came out, and they watched the facts. I think it's very important for us to follow the facts, and that nobody is above the law.
Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, I'm going to leave it there. Democrat from Michigan, somebody who always.
Besides, it's way too hot to masturbate.
Appreciate it. Well, joining me now on the other side of this story, or the other half of this story, is former Homeland Security Secretary under President Obama. It is Jay Johnson. Secretary Johnson, good to see you.
Okay, this is boring. There we go. Ari Melber, how about that? That ought to be more entertaining.
For every home project, Home Advisor finds trusted local pros. For every pro...
Do they?
Right now, good evening, Art.
That is a big Sunday show.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
We'll be watching. Hope you have a great weekend until then, sir.
I hope so.
Welcome to this Friday edition of The Beat. Now let me start just...
I really don't think the AC guy is
For
going to
many
show up.
Americans, this was Mueller week. The special counsel speaking for the first and only time in his role.
That's why you use frozen water bottles?
Trump Attorney General Bill Barr is clearly pushing ahead to make it something else, to make it sort of Barr week. And he's got this new interview that actually, and this is kind of interesting, it may help Democrats because it doesn't exactly rebut critics who say
Well, for
Mr.
me,
Barr
it's
acted
too hot
like
to
Donald
masturbate.
Trump's personal criminal defense attorney and the Attorney General of the United
But
States.
then again,
And Barr also knows
I've all
he's
but
doing
lost
what he's got
interest in
to do.
masturbating lately.
Some little tidbits of news of his own here, recounting even when he first got the letter of rebuke from Mueller for, according to Mueller, not capturing the scope of the report, of confusing the public.
Hanging out with a friend and some new viewers and listening to music. I mean,
And then he goes
news.
ahead and basically defies Mueller.
The special counsel is a little sharper on obstruction.
I was just trying to state the bottom line. The bottom line was that Mueller identified...
Just wishing it wasn't so goddamn hot in this house.
Conclusions. He wasn't exonerating the president, but he wasn't finding a crime.
What are you doing?
Rosenstein and I felt it was necessary
Probably
for us,
masturbating.
as the heads of the department to reach that decision. Many of the instances would not amount to obstruction.
Many of the instances would not amount to obstruction.
Just don't splooge on the
Now, in
screen.
fairness, the Mueller report itself does not state in its treatment of the evidence that every instance discussed was amounting to obstruction. So I want to be clear there.
Dingo,
Mueller's doing a lot
lay
of things
down.
that look a little bit embarrassing to him, but that doesn't mean that everything he says has no legal basis. So what's wrong here with this picture? Well, the Mueller report does state that its whole point and purpose was to
You're just
provide the
getting your
evidence
fleas
to enable
everywhere.
Congress to make a decision.
Let's just keep your
Not
fleas
have
to yourself.
Barr summarize it or re-summarize it or mischaracterize it or rule on it. And that is something that Barr again deflects on here.
My purpose there was not to summarize every jot and tittle of the report and every, angle that Mueller looked into, but just to state the bottom line, which I did in the 4-page memo. I said that Mueller did not reach a decision. He gave both sides. Well, again, I wasn't trying to provide all the flavor and nooks and crannies of the report. Rosenstein and I reached a decision. The criteria we applied in finding no obstruction.
The fact is, we already know Bob Mueller thought the summary wasn't just inadequate or incomplete, but as he thought about his old
Yeah, there's a shit ton more flies in here.
He thought this man, who he used to work with, who he clearly respected fundamentally,
Now we're back to 3 viewers.
was the threat.
Although I was
And
pretty
that's
sure I
why
was
he
just talking to 3
immediately
people.
his objections in writing, telling Mr.
So
Barr
now is there really
to
4
capture the
viewers?
context, the nature, the substance of Mueller's work and its conclusions. And that was sowing public confusion. Now I can tell you for the first time, Barr is actually recounting his side of receiving that unusual letter of rebuke from a man who, again, I want to say this respectfully, but I think accurately, a man who, at this juncture, has far more public credibility than Mr. Barr. And Mueller and Barr share that long history, and Barr reflected on that as well while talking about this letter he got from Mueller.
He wrote the letter taking issue, saying that you'd caused confusion. Did that catch you off guard?
Yeah, sure. I was surprised he just didn't pick up the phone and call me, given our 30-year relationship. But
Why didn't he?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Because you were being shady as fuck, that's why.
For the Root.com, Paul Butler, former federal prosecutor, and Sophia Nelson, counsel of the GOP House
You're leaving?
Committee. Good evening to each
Don't
of you.
leave.
Good evening, all right. Paul,
We're just getting started.
Mr. Barr would have us believe that he doesn't understand why lawyers sometimes
Welcome,
do
viewer
things in
number
writing
4.
rather than pick up the phone super cash when you're old buddies. Can you help him and
That
the rest
is
of us
really a
understand?
fourth viewer.
You do it to preserve a record. You do it because you don't trust the guy you're writing the letter to. There's no reason why Mueller should have trusted Barr. Barr mischaracterized the report that Robert Mueller spent 2 years working on, which is about our national security.
So just fact-checking that point, when he says something that I think could sound reasonable to people, right? If I knew someone for a very long time and I say, oh, well, they just call me, in casual parlance, that's a reasonable sounding thing to say. You're saying that he is trying to sound reasonable while hiding the fact that this really was a blow-up between them that was bad enough to be in writing.
It'd be so
Yeah,
cold,
what Bill
so
Barr
nice and
did
cool
when
in
he
this
had
one
that
little
fake
place.
press conference where he mischaracterized the Mueller report is put the interest of Donald Trump.
I love you,
ahead of the
Lacey.
interest of the United States. So there's
Wish you were here,
absolutely
honey.
no reason why Mueller should have had any confidence in him.
Sophia?
Yeah, I mean, he's exactly right. At the end of the day, Attorney General Barr is really, I think, damaging himself, and I don't want to get too far ahead.
Told you I might have a new
His
girlfriend.
comments in the interview this morning were just unbelievable about, people dying and
'Cause you
reputation
snooze, you
being
lose,
damaged.
child.
He really doesn't care. So I think that Paul's dead on, that at the end of the day, we lawyers like to have these things called present sense impressions, and we like to get things down on paper.
I already
because
accidentally
we want
called her
to
my
preserve a
girlfriend talking to my
record
dad.
that we did disagree, and clearly Mueller felt that he could not trust
Now, how many
Barr
hours
to
a
pick
day
up
do you
the
have
phone
to
and
talk
say,
to
"Hey, you
someone
gotta go
before
back
you
out
can
and
call them
correct
your
yourself,"
girlfriend?
because he didn't get it right the first time.
And you're talking about what he says everybody dies.
Even in a long
familiar,
distance
of course, with the
relationship.
news source material. Let's hear that. Go ahead.
Everyone dies, and I'm not, I don't believe in the Homeric idea that, immortality comes by, having opened.
Whatever it is, I'm pretty sure we've been talking that much.
Now, Sophia, based on what I know, and it is Friday of a long week, but my understanding is everyone does die.
Yep,
So that it's
that's
true.
real. That's true.
That it's real. That's very real.
Welcome,
So
viewer
real,
number
sometimes we
5.
don't even want to think about our own impending death. We are all just
Sure.
packages of cells that will eventually expire. But you're saying that he's
Karma,
doing
karma,
something
karma,
wrong,
karma,
and
karma,
what is wrong with what you're saying?
chameleon.
But there's something else about this package. It has a soul. And my problem is the soul of the Republican Party's been lost. The soul of this Attorney General's been lost. Because at the end of
Well,
the day, this
she's
is
pretty
about
laid
the
back, down to
Constitution
earth.
of the United States of America. And Robert Mueller and his team spent 2 years and $35
Not
million
high strung,
in
not high
taxpayer
maintenance.
dollars, and 2 guys, Rosenstein
Just cool.
and Barr,
She's
decided
cool.
to overturn it and make a different analysis than the men and women tasked to do it for 2 years, who, by the way, were following the
And I love her fucking
DOJ,
Minnesota accent.
OLC analysis, as you know. So they were actually following DOJ guidelines. For Barr to say otherwise is disingenuous. And I do fear that he is like the Grim Reaper here in this interview, like, I'm going to die, so reputation be damned. Doesn't he have children and grandchildren? Doesn't he want people to think well of him when he leaves this earth? I know I do.
I'm really torn. I'm gonna be very honest here, and I love what you're saying about the soul. But as I kick it out to Jason, I'm gonna be honest. It's one of those things where it depends who says it. Right. Because if the most enlightened person did say it in the right context, your honorable grandfather, your really humble yoga teacher, everyone dies. Yeah, let's take that in. But he's saying it as a rebuttal to the
It's
fact
still
that
really
people,
fucking hot in
including
here.
we've had them on this program and others, people who
The
worked
sun's
with
just
him,
going
who
down.
respected him, who thought he was better than this, are aghast at his performance. So it's not about whether or not you die, it's about whether your reputation, your professional work, the oath you take to the office matters, Jason.
Well,
In fact, it's kind of a bad thing that the sun's going down, because that means the fucking AC isn't going to get fixed. They still haven't shown up yet.
I don't care, right? I'm going to be here. I'm going to do what Trump wants me to do. And at the end of the day, I think history will reflect well on me. But this is the other thing that I think is really,
the end of that 50 cents, the end of that 50-cent line is, I'm going to be who I'm destined to be.
Exactly. And that's what Barr knows. He knows that at the end of the day, if this administration continues, that he's going to be the hand of the president. He's going to continue to do this kind of work. Remember, next summer, you already heard the president say that he wants Barr to possibly be the point man on investigating Joe Biden or investigating Hillary Clinton. Right. So he's thinking of the long game. He doesn't care about what's happening now.
That it's going to be a surgical summer, as it were.
Right. Exactly. Paul?
Yeah, some of this is with regard to...
What are they going to investigate Joe Biden for?
Not
Really?
being as direct as he could be on these issues. So, are you and I...
Fucking man didn't do anything wrong.
Heads, the thing I love about that culture is it's direct, it's in your face.
Sure.
That's not how Robert Mueller flows. And so when I might say Trump is a thug and the Attorney General is a liar, what Mueller says is, well, I didn't have enough evidence to charge. Well, actually, he didn't even say he didn't have enough evidence to charge Trump with a crime. What he said is, Bill Barr and the Department of Justice.
Which would y'all rather see, me or the fish tanks?
Trump with a crime. But if I thought that he was innocent, I would tell you that, and I'm not telling you that. And what he says about the Attorney General, Mueller writes that letter where he says, well, you didn't exactly capture
both
the
very poorly
substance and
maintained
context of my 400-page memo. Again, that's calling Barr a liar, just not saying it
but doing it in those in those careful ways, which again is what makes him a good prosecutor and the kind of person you would trust to navigate difficult issues without fear or favor and prejudice. But we are out here in the post-report period. The 68 days between the report being turned in.
Now we're down to 2 viewers, all.
And what that did. And then the question, Sophia, you worked as a counsel.
I guess Lacey left.
The Congress, in a committee. And the question of how the Congress is struggling with that. And that's where, again, I mean, we're just calling it as we see it. There are Democrats.
Yeah, so she found me on Craigslist.
Struggling with how to talk about this, even the ones who say they're for an impeachment probe.
I had an ad for my room for rent.
We need to change.
And she needed a room for rent.
The Judiciary Committee should.
But we just wound up hitting it off as soon as we started talking.
Inquiries, all right? Democrats
And now we've been talking for like 2 weeks.
To impeach without removal is I think a mistake. The inquiry is not the same as the filing articles of impeachment. That's not impeachment. That is to determine. It's the first step.
At this juncture, Sophia, I see Chase is shaking his head. Go ahead, Chase.
Yeah, this is so ridiculous. This is why I was very happy to see that Senator Harris and Senator Warren this week came out and said, you know what, once I become president, as they were speaking confidently, I'm going to send a memo to the DOJ, and I'm going to get rid of this, because a lot of this comes from the fact that Mueller was like, hey, I can't do anything. I can't indict a sitting president. That's sort of the core of this. So all the dancing around that the Democrats are doing now is also because of an interpretation of the Department of Justice that needs to be clarified or changed. If we have a president that can't be indicted, you're going to get that kind of word salad from Mueller, and that's where this problem comes from.
Ari, let me say this. Of all
true.
the Republicans that are ducking and hiding, I've only heard Justin Amash and recently former Defense Secretary and Congressman Bill Cohen, who was on the Nixon impeachment Judiciary Committee in the House as a Republican. And he said something I want to leave people with today, which is, Congress, do your job. This isn't about whether or not you're going to get reelected. It's not about whether or not you're coming back. You took an oath to the Constitution. What Mueller laid out in 400 and some pages of his report, I read it all, as I suspect all you did, were serious high crimes and misdemeanors. I'm over my neighbors and everybody else trying to skirt around this and say how this president's being picked on. He's not. And at the end of the day, the Congress has to do its duty, and they must start an inquiry now, because it's time. It's just time for them to do it.
Yeah, I think we have a conflict, though, between doing the right thing and the politics. So if Speaker Pelosi's end game is to get Donald Trump out of office, impeachment might actually interfere with that end game because of the politics. And so then where does she go?
Who cares? It's the right thing to do. You honor your oath.
You might care if you don't.
People are going to be lukewarm about Democrats if they...
So we let them continue to commit crimes and obstruct.
All right. The Sean must speak. Okay, y'all ready for this? If they don't impeach, people are going to feel lukewarm about Democrats. People are going to feel like Democrats have no spine. And the people that show up to vote for Democrats only show up to vote for Democrats when they think the Democrats have a spine. They have to stand for something, okay? If people don't see the Democrats standing for something, you know, people know that they can chew gum and walk at the same time. People know that they can get other stuff done. And it's up to them to get other stuff done while doing the impeachment. But if they don't impeach, they're going to be seen as doing nothing. And it doesn't matter if they do other stuff. They're not going to get attention for the other stuff anyways. The only thing that's going to get attention is an impeachment hearing. Howdy, Mr. Conway. So, the Sean has spoken. And the other Sean is here.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm with you, Jason. I mean, it just makes no sense to me to keep making this argument that we let him get away with it because we fear losing elections. That's not America. That's not what this republic is founded on. That's not okay.
I hear you loud and clear, but you got to give Speaker Pelosi credit. She's not the most powerful woman in the United States for no reason. She's a master politician. She knows her strategy.
This is about the Constitution,
I don't think
not
this
about
is a strategy.
politics.
Sophia and then Jason.
No, I'm just saying this is bigger than politics, and that's where patriots come from, and that's what a profiles encourages. It's when men and women like Margaret Chase Smith and others stand up and they say, this is wrong, McCarthy,
Yes.
we're not doing this. I don't care if
Thank you, sir.
send me home packing and I never get reelected again. At some point, we have to make a decision what we value more, the republic and the values of the republic, or do we let this president continue to embarrass us, trample on us? You know, Bill Barr talked about eroding the institutions. No president has done more damage in 2 years than all of them combined for 240 years than this one has. That's my opinion, but that's how I see it.
I wouldn't necessarily go that far at this point, but I will say this. It doesn't have to be an either or. Look, the problem that I've had with Speaker Pelosi is she was throwing water on this before we even got the report out. Like that was the problem. She has basically been discouraging and sending out a chilling effect to the entire House, saying, no, don't take this position, don't take this position. I don't believe she's playing three-dimensional chess. I don't believe she's playing a long game. I think she is simply afraid and doesn't think she has the votes. And the problem is, just like you have to convince the American public that impeachment is a good idea, you have to convince your own members. And she's not letting them do that by saying she doesn't want to go.
And it's fascinating listening to each of you make such interesting arguments across the board. And that also, the point you end on, Jason, is the Barr point, which is, do you treat this as something that's just happening and watch it happen, or what he did, right? Unlike, say, your criticism of Pelosi, he came in very clearly with a view, and he advocated it, and he articulated it, and he may have moved people on it. And we are at the highest stakes of interbranch, legal, political, constitutional clashes, and who is fighting with a clear message and who is not, I think, is a part of this as we really end what was Mueller Barr week here, and Mueller breaking his silence. My special thanks to Jason, Paul, and Sophia. Learned a lot from you guys tonight.
Thanks, Ari.
Thanks to each of you. Coming up, we have a lot. Democrats have a plan for Bill Barr and Donald Trump. Senator Richard Blumenthal from the Judiciary Committee, Pivotal, is here with me. Also later, how the Republican obsession with AOC may actually
I still can't fucking cool down, man.
legislation to clean up lobbying. I'm not joking. We'll explain. And later, a disturbing report about one of Donald Trump's favorite authoritarians, Rick Stengel, is here on the stakes. And some news about the Mueller report. I'm going to give you something special that I want you to know about. That comes later. And of course, it's Friday. I've got the Flatbush Zombies here as well. You're watching The Beat on MSNBC. Here's something you don't see every day. The sitting Attorney General of the United States, which is one of the most nonpartisan offices that is supposed to exist in the entire government, name-checking the political opposition to the president, saying there's no evidence that Donald Trump is shredding institutions, but really it's the resistance.
And I think it's important that we not, in this period of intense partisan feeling, destroy our institutions. I think one of the ironies today is that people are saying that it's President Trump that's shredding our institutions. I really see no evidence of that. From my perspective, our institutions is occurring.
joined by
like
Senator
that.
Richard Blumenthal from the Judiciary Committee, a former federal
I just feel like
prosecutor.
that.
You take these issues seriously, and I don't make light of them, but I am compelled to say, at the end of this week, with Mueller breaking his silence, Attorney General Bill Barr's argument boils down to, I know you are, but what am I? I mean, what is he doing talking about the resistance threatening institutions? And how would citizens threaten institutions? They're not in charge of the Justice Department.
You know, what William Barr is doing to the Department of Justice and to the rule of law is so disgraceful and shameful. All you have to do is go over what Donald Trump has said about the Department of Justice, about the brave and dedicated men and women of the FBI, about
There is
judges,
one
Obama
Republican in
judges,
favor of impeachment.
and
It just came out
about
recently.
the rule of law in this country, and clearly it is
But this is
Donald
just the
Trump,
one
the
so
President
far.
of the United States, who is shredding those institutions. Nicole Wallace did a wonderful segment which showed
Most of them are afraid of Trump coming after
Trump's
them
statements
and losing their
over a
place.
period of time, and for William Barr to blame anyone but the President of the United States for undermining the credibility of those institutions, particularly.
Is it even
my
appropriate
balls
Senator,
itch.
for him to be holding forth his random opinions about the propriety of the resistance?
Kidding.
I mean, why would the Attorney General do that at all?
I
I
just
get,
needed
by
to
the way,
shift them.
the campaign folks do it, that they have every right, that we're going to have a big boisterous debate in the country. But is that really where the AG should be?
He is very cleverly and deceptively using the power of TV. We saw it with Bob Mueller. In 9 minutes, he did more to move the needle than weeks, maybe years of commentary.
You mentioned that. I've heard this a lot, that I've heard from people in Washington that Barr understands Trump's obsessions, and so he has been leaning into them. No collusion talking points, things that can be tweeted, and then, of course, television. Did it strike you that in this new interview, he's in this sort of cabin environment with the fire over the corner and the vest? Do you read into that at all?
I read into that very ingenious use of demeanor, style, background, obviously the fire roaring, the vest, the informality, all designed to create an impression.
So, which, by the way, we have expected from our presidents and our politicians. You're a politician as well as a senator, right? You have a government job and you're a politician. But to see the Attorney General, I mean, there's something concerning there, even though I'm not suggesting it's as serious as the other things. But it's certainly different than many other Attorneys General. And the other thing I want to push you on, though, is your party. You mentioned Nicole Wallace, our great colleague who's done great breakdowns. Jimmy Kimmel, of all people, who happens to be a comedian, but a very clear speaker. And he put your speaker to task on this. Take a look.
Well, we've been on that path for a while, and when we do get to where we're going to be ready.
But it feels like we've been on the path for a really, really long while.
We really have, well,
Like since the 70s.
it has to be clear to the American people, and we have to hope that it will be clear to the Republicans in this United States.
So, and you think that those Republican senators, even if they know he committed a crime, will side with Donald Trump?
They have been all every day. Not one of them has spoken up.
Does he have a point about pressing her to start an impeachment probe?
He has a very, very good point about the impatience of the American people with the criminality of the president, which is depicted.
No, I have to ask you, was that a yes?
Here's where I agree with Speaker Pelosi and with my Democratic colleagues who are demanding an impeachment inquiry, as they call it right now. We need accountability. That ought to be our guiding principle, whether it is in the Congress through an impeachment proceeding, or in the courts, or in the court of public opinion at the ballot box. But what's really important here is that we know what we have in common, which is there have to be hearings. And it comes back to the power of television. The word from Bob Mueller's mouth will continue to move the needle. You know, I've been out in the state of Connecticut for these past several days at 9 parades or more, ceremonies, all kinds of meetings with constituents, and clearly opinions are evolving and changing.
We're down to one viewer.
Which is a fascinating part of this, and now in the week that Mueller has spoken. Senator Blumenthal, thank you so much. Still ahead, we will be joined by a top Obama.
Yeah, that's not Surprising.
about Trump's affection for authoritarians. But first,
Of course they did.
the freshman star of the Democratic class, AOC, says, "Pray for me," as she teams up with the last person you might ever expect when we're back in just 30 seconds. Now here's something you might not see every day. Freshman Democratic star AOC and Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz joining forces. Now here's how it happened. AOC announced she thinks members of Congress should be outright banned from becoming lobbyists after they leave office. Senator Cruz tweets, he agrees. Okay. AOC responds, let's co-sponsor a bill. Let's do something about it. And Cruz responds, you're on. And this is Ted Cruz, the same guy who mocked AOC for noting airport croissants cost almost half as much as the hourly wage for so many people who work at airports, and also blasted AOC's own Green New Deal.
I support cows. I hope to see PETA supporting the Republican Party now that the Democrats want to kill all the cows.
And AOC, who is good with digital organizing, posted a video saying she'll do pretty much anything to get money out of politics, which includes working with Ted Cruz. She added, quote, pray for me. Today, AOC also shines a light on income inequality. She's spending the day bartending in Queens. This is the same job she held when she was running for Congress. And she's got that promise again to make this all come together in one story, which is getting money out.
They call it working class.
The AC guy is actually here.
You are working non-stop. We're up against an opponent. He's taken $3 million per cycle from Wall Street, real estate, and pharmaceutical companies. We need to have the courage to stand up for working people and stand up against corporate interests.
So let's take a break from Trump and talk about this partnership with a partnership of our own. Libertarian Matt Welch, editor-at-large of Reason Magazine, and progressive Liz Plank, host of Vox's Consider It. Nice to have you both here.
Thanks for having us.
A lot of people see Twitter as an endless place of angry tirades and cliches, although there's plenty of good stuff that goes on as well. Walk us through AOC using what might have just been a little moment to actually force potential action.
Yeah, I think AOC working with Ted Cruz is kind of like Batman working with the Joker. And you might disagree on who Batman is in this analogy, but and I can let the people at home decide who they feel is Batman. But yeah, it's a very unlikely duo. It's very surprising, and it's very surprising because actually in the documentary, in the Netflix documentary you put in the beginning, you see that one of her first viral moments as a sort of on the national stage was actually going after Ted Cruz in a tweet where he was going after net neutrality, using the word snowflakes, and she said, you're a sitting senator, Comcast paid you X amount of money to put out this tweet. Your records are public. We know how much money you're getting from these lobbyists. So it's really interesting to see them now work in concert together when at the beginning, their feud, I guess, where they've been feuding was such a point of, stardom for her.
Yeah, and Matt, I want to get you on both the politics and the substance. There's certainly...
Okay, so we'll see if replacing the ductwork has any effect.
The lobbying system, right? There's nothing liberal or conservative about it. To a lot of people, it's just rank corruption. But when it comes to Cruz, we wanted to have on a prominent supporter of Ted Cruz, and we just couldn't find one. And I say that not to be mean, but looking even in his own party, it's well known. And we're going to show some Republicans, prominent Republicans, who've always had problems with him too. Take a look.
If you killed Ted Cruz on the floor of the Senate, and the trial was in the Senate, nobody could convict you.
Lucifer in the flesh, everybody get along well with everybody. But I've never worked for the more miserable
Everybody hates Ted. It's a very tough thing. They all hate him. I mean, for a lot of reasons, but they all hate him.
I mean, he stabbed his best friend in the Senate in the ribs, Mike Lee, on the criminal justice bill in 2016 at a very crucial moment. Completely surprised him.
Yeah, well, the landlord doesn't want to replace the whole unit yet, or at all, because he's a fucking cheap bastard.
Cross-partisan Twitter legislation. I'm not sure this passes constitutional muster. I mean, the Constitution enumerates the right to petition your government, whether you like the petitioners or not, whether they're paid or not. We don't like them. We don't like members of Congress. We've bound two classes of people that we despise. And a lot of American politics right now is like, okay, is this group I don't like? Great, let's punish them somehow, right? So you're saying we live in a world where now people say,
the idea of lobbying is a dirty word on the left.
Yeah, I know.
But you could be lobbying as an anti-war protester. You could be lobbying your government.
But the ducting definitely needs to be replaced either way.
And also the AOC idea, and this is something that progressives, I think, have to learn every generation, is that when you have a big idea about telling businesses what to do or Americans what to do, that is regulation, right? This is Elizabeth Warren is the most enthusiastic and knowledgeable regulator running for president since Ralph Nader. So if she gets her way, or if the Green New Deal is passed, what is that going to do? That's not going to drive lobbyists out of business. That's going to drive lobbyists in business. Paradox. People are going to want to lobby.
Paradox.
To protect their
We tried to have some fun here. We ended up in a paradox response.
Well, I think I think you're right, and a lot of people have been saying, you know, it's too simplistic. It'll increase shadow lobbying, right? People will find other means of doing it. But I think it still reveals sort of the paradox of the AOC effect, that Republicans seem to hate her, but they kind of are in awe of her, and I think there's more Republicans than we think. I think there's a lot of covertly, I think there's a lot of action, like more covertly happening in Washington, where Republicans want to work with her and want to be associated with her because she's popular.
Well, and briefly, don't a lot of Americans look at this through the lens of who's going to fight for them and not always the partisan polarization?
Yes, and that's what she does on social media, right? She doesn't use social media to talk about herself. She uses social media to listen, and not just to her constituents, but also now we're seeing to her.
So lightning round, given that it started on Twitter, what emoji would you give for the likelihood of the success of this bill?
I don't think I can say it on television. It's the.
I
won't. It's the not very nice like it's the poop emoji.
I think
it's, you know, probably not.
I think we have to erase the 1 up to the 100. Sadly, it's not. Wouldn't be signed into law.
I hope the ducking helps though.
It wouldn't pass
I hope it
constitutional
at least
muster,
fucking
but
helps.
I agree. It is fun.
It's like I can feel it blowing out a little bit cold, but like not much.
Matt Welsh with keeping it 100 and a game reference. Let's reflect on that.
Need to get drunk and tell us how I really feel.
You're the one who invited us.
And I don't regret it one bit. But I did want to let this moment sit. Matt and Liz, thank you so much. We take what in the business is called a serious turn because we cover more than one type of story here. So coming back with diplomacy and an authoritarian who is accused now of executing the team that was trying to meet with Donald Trump, a controversial and important story, and later Fallback Friday, a lot more on the beat. Stay with us.
Time for more free cookies.
Now we turn to a grisly story that is airing out.
The drunk news. Yeah, that would be a great show.
About Donald Trump's affection for authoritarians and even brutal dictators.
Maybe I should check into that once everything gets more normal for me again, if it ever gets fucking normal for me again.
Now what they've done, according to a source, is execute the very envoy helping arrange the food and President Trump officials. Now reportedly, this official, which you see right here, was also put into a prison camp and then reprimanding his sister, who is apparently now laying low. All of this because of the fury about how those February talks about nuclear weapons did not work out. Now, this kind of report is obviously quite serious, which is why we're telling you about it. This is a report that NBC News has yet to officially confirm tonight. It is based on an anonymous single source who spoke to a South Korean newspaper. Secretary Pompeo was asked about it today in a press conference in Berlin and says the State Department has seen the report and they are checking it out. And all this comes just days after Trump said he was not really bothered by Kim Jong-un's missile tests, and he amplified Kim Jong-un's attacks on a U.S. former Vice President, Joe Biden. All of this is coming together at a time of incredible tension for the relationship and these questions about Donald Trump's foreign policy. Or bring in a former Obama diplomatic official and journalist, Richard Stengel, who joins me for this conversation. And to begin, let's just look at the way Donald Trump talks about this very dictator who today stands accused, as we say in an unconfirmed report, of this execution. Take a look.
Hey, when you take over a country, tough people, and you take it over from your father, if you can do that at 27 years old, I mean, that's 1 in 10,000 that could do that. So he's a very smart guy. He's a great negotiator. But I think we understand each other.
You know, Harry, one of the things you learn when you're traveling around the world for the United States is that leaders of bad moral character
attract other people of bad moral character. Leaders of good moral character attract both. And Trump, for some reason, seems attracted to leaders of bad moral character. In the case of Kim Jong-un, an autocratic dictator who executes his enemies, who's never run for election. The fact that he is having praise for this man at the same time while Angela Merkel is in the United States and he doesn't say anything about her, who is a bastion of democracy, it's a tragedy.
So you see it as coming from his personal judgment, and that also means
So
that
Kim Jong-un executed one of his aides after the Trump summit.
Diplomats who would say, we don't want to be seen, especially for getting nothing in return, in a geopolitical sense. We don't want to be seen as just giving comfort to this type of authoritarian.
According to one South Korean source.
But he has an authoritarian personality. He's attracted to other authoritarians. He's envious of people, of leaders who can rule without having checks and balances or having to deal with the people. And those are the people he somehow empathizes with. Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, Xi Jinping.
Well, you mentioned Putin, and this goes to the part that's really bad, but not criminal. I've been reporting on how the Mueller report does not find a conspiracy with Putin and the Trump folks, and that was something people were concerned about, and in fairness to them, that crime was not charged. And then there's the really terrible thing, regardless of no crime, as you say, which is this, what you call this interest of authoritarians, and it goes back, I mean, we just pulled this for your analysis, 2013, Donald Trump on Putin. Take a look.
He's done a very brilliant job in terms of what he represents and who he's representing. He's done an amazing job. He's put himself, really, as you know, a lot of people would say he's put himself at the forefront of the world as a leader. I think that Putin has done an amazing job of showing certain leadership that our people have not been able to match.
All right, welcome viewer number 2.
He admires
Feel free to say hello in the chat.
Things that unites Putin and Trump is they both weaponize the grievance, right?
Tuna salad.
Weaponize the grievance of Russians who felt like the world collapsed when the Soviet Union collapsed, and Trump is weaponizing the grievance of Americans who feel left out. What does Putin want to do? He wants to make Russia.
Yeah.
What does Donald Trump want to do? I want to say that's low,
true.
but that's the attraction.
Yeah, and so ultimately, how does the State Department where you work deal with this? And this is the human side that is sort of hard to even ask about. But what does it mean if you go into these rooms and across the table you're looking at people that the stakes are so high they might be killed if they don't get the right thing out of the meeting?
Well, I have to say, one of the things that always made me feel great when I was a diplomat was that the things that we said in public about what we believed in, justice, human rights, were the things that we actually said in private. What I hope this administration is doing that same thing in private, even though they don't even endorse these things in public.
Richard Stengel, former State Department official under the Obama administration. Thank you for your insights on this. I really appreciate it. Coming up, it has been a long week, but we're going to get into a whole lot on Fallback Friday, including new reports of UFOs in the New York Times, and the Flatbush Zombies are here next.
You come and go.
It's Friday on the beat, and you know that means it's time to fall back. We have a very special group of fallbacks tonight with the music group, the Flatbush Zombies, Michi Darko, Zombie Juice, and Eric Elliott, who are childhood friends from Flatbush in Brooklyn. They're hitting it big. 2 albums in the Billboard Top 20, and a new album, Escape from New York, plus appearances on The Tonight Show, collaborating with artists from Wu-Tang Clan and Brooklyn Big Shot Joey Badass, and then performing in the supergroup Beast Coast at this weekend's Governor's Ball, a huge show featuring The Strokes and Nas. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
It's exciting times for you guys. Who needs to fall back?
Social media.
Social media.
Why? It takes a big fallback. I think we're all tethered to it a little too much. I think that it's necessary for us to exist nowadays to be on the phone and on the internet. But I think it's doing so much for us that we don't realize. I think that we're ignoring social interaction. I'm looking you directly in your eyes. I think for someone who's texting a lot, that person probably has a problem with that. There's a little bit of anxiety mixed in there. Sometimes you'll go on the phone to kind of avoid conversation. Some people rather text than to meet up with somebody in person. I think those are things.
New York Times study finds 4 out of 10 teenagers think their parents are addicted to their phones. That's something.
They're like problems, man. We need to really check that.
Yeah, and like to expand on what he's saying, one thing we talked about earlier, I even get my news from social media. You find out everything from social media. If you don't want to find something out, you stay away from social media.
Right.
That's how much information is on social media. So I feel like we need to go back to a time where eye contact is very
Welcome,
important.
viewer number 3.
It's funny
Feel free
me
to
when
say
I'm
hello
a
in the
social
chat.
gathering and there's so much interesting people around, and someone goes to their
I'd like to hear
Do you
from
find
you.
that? I mean, people your age at a party are on their phones.
Not just
Even
my age.
Speaking of social
I was on
media.
the elevator the other day, and I looked at a man about 20
Yeah,
years
fucking
older than me, and
Facebook,
I seen
man.
him pull out his phone, and I looked at the screen, and he did nothing. That was just his way of not looking at us in the room.
Facebook is becoming the old people's shit now.
And when he goes back into his room, he's probably going to go on social media after and drift off and waste hours. And I'm glad they.
I'm still like, what the fuck happened to AOL?
Stay on social media now, so you can really like monitor yourself because it's very important.
Personal relationships. You know, it takes away from emotional personal relationships. You feel like you want to talk to someone online, you don't want to go meet them anymore. It's like a game, Tinder, straight.
Right, everything becomes gamified, yeah. What other fallbacks do you have?
I think simple arrest, marijuana possession should take a fallback. Although marijuana is available to about 20% Americans recreationally, there's still minorities getting arrested at a very high rate. So while some people are out selling their CBDs, selling their tinctures, getting high, doing yoga somewhere in Portland, you know, there's still poor black and brown people getting arrested at a very high rate, getting their lives.
Yeah, old people are on Facebook.
Thrown in
I'm old
jail,
people.
getting everything took away from their rights to getting student loans, to even participating in the $3 billion reverted cannabis industry.
A lot of places on the law enforcement side, a small amount of pot is a little bit like loitering. You could charge people for it, but when you look at the data, who gets charged, right? It becomes a performance discrimination.
Roughly 50%.
What about the people? Because what hurts me when I see an article like, mom from Denver makes millions off of her new brownie company, and I'm like, dude from high school that I went to high school with is in jail.
Yeah.
And that hurts me a little bit when it's like, not a little bit, a lot, when these people are still in jail for some weed that they sold 10 years ago. Maybe they made a mistake 10 years ago. And that's the biggest part to me. Yeah, make it recreational, but what about all the people that are still in prison right now from this?
Yeah, that's really well put. I'm going to throw in my fallback, and I don't know if you saw this on the news. There's some real talk about the military being concerned about actual sightings of unidentified flying objects. Read this. Yeah, this is New York Times reporting. Military pilots saw a sphere encasing a cube in orbit, and objects flying at hypersonic speed, sudden stops, instantaneous turns, which is, they say, beyond the physical limits of a human crew. And then get this, an incident so spooked the squadron, aviation flight safety report was filed. No one in the Defense Department is saying the objects were extraterrestrial. They're not saying they are aliens, but they're telling us they're maybe not human, and everyone's just chill about this.
Well, what it is a UFO means unidentified flying object. It doesn't mean it's an alien, so it just means I have no idea what that is. It's just funny to me that they've been using the same descriptions for UFOs for about 7 years now. Aliens apparently have not gotten faster, and it's just I don't know what to believe. I've been looking in the sky. I haven't seen anything yet.
But when you read this, something like that. When you read this, yeah, some of the videos are out. Why are people more concerned about this? I think it's like
in their phone.
Because they're looking at their phone. Exactly.
Can't look up when you're looking down. What is your
Yeah, people are so addicted to their phones. People get abducted without even noticing.
Basketball and the sports program
Look up.
as a whole.
Fucking, oh shit, I'm on an alien spaceship. Oh, what's on
They
Facebook?
give everything to a program, and they make people like me. I know about basketball and college sports from people like Jalen.
Fuck no,
Rose
it's
and all
not
these people,
aliens.
And they got nothing from that college. Zion Williamson is a prime example. He's probably the biggest draft pick in
Demons
history.
and the nations that
Basketball and
demons
sports in
are
general.
assisted
He
by.
made not even $1 or a penny. If I was to try to bribe him to feed him and give him sneakers or a meal, he might go to jail, and I might go to jail for trying to offer him money. Meanwhile,
Zach
these
Cody,
schools
huh?
are making millions
Nice to meet you,
of
Mr.
dollars.
Zach Cody. Welcome to the chat.
Coaches are making maybe up to $6 to $8 million. Coach K might be making $8 million.
Right, everyone's making.
Oh, there went that. Dog fights of Desert Storm. X-15, the ultimate flying machine? No. The SR-71 Blackbird is the ultimate fucking flying machine. There will never be a cooler plane than that. Anything cooler than the SR-71 is a fucking spaceship. Although the F-22 Raptor comes pretty close. But it's still not as cool. Let's see here. Anything interesting? Yeah, the Blackbird's just badass, man. The Blackbird's so badass, I designed a car just to mimic it.
The current JST ARS is based on a 4-engine Boeing 707. Of the 16 JST ARS inventory, 11 of them are operational. The JST ARS is the only platform technically able to simultaneously perform command and control as well as ISR, Air Force developers describe. The Air Force is massively speeding up a new networked surveillance system intended to collect, organize and disseminate pressing attack information in extremely high-risk environments including enemy stealth fighters, advanced air defenses and armed drones. The new aerial surveillance system or spy network is called Advanced Battle Management and Surveillance, ABMS, an emerging technical system designed to succeed the existing Joint Surveillance and Target Attack Radar System, JST-ARS.
So everybody pray that what the AC guy does today actually fucking works.
The same capability that protects soldiers and Marines on the move. We want to
I don't
replicate
think
the
it's gonna.
technology, yet make it as survivable.
I have my
William Rover,
doubts. I have
Assistant
serious doubts.
Secretary of the Air Force, Acquisition, Technology and Logistics, told an audience recently at an Air Force Association symposium. The plan is to engineer a series of interconnected surveillance nodes to possibly include drones, aircraft, satellites and other assets to detect enemy ground movements, provide targeting intelligence to nearby aircraft and help pinpoint fast emerging new war information. The technology plan was first released in the Air Force 2019 budget. This next generation airborne surveillance and command and control technology is intended to successfully synchronize air, ground, drone and satellite assets onto a single seamless network, service officials said. Early prototyping is massively moving up the time frame.
Yes, this may be true. If the AC starts working, I will not be streaming in my underwear as much. I'll probably be streaming my shirt off still. Because even when the AC was working, this house gets kind of hot. It gets, not unbearable like it's been the past few days, but it still gets pretty hot.
Satellites, drones, ground sensors, and manned surveillance aircraft seamlessly in real time across a fast-changing, dispersed combat area of operations. ABMS is described by Air Force officials as more of a system and platform-specific application. This technical approach is of great significance amid anticipated future threat scenarios wherein electronic attacks, cyber intrusions, and GPS jamming weapons are both emerging and proliferating. A collection of interconnected nodes enables surveillance to continue in the event that one is destroyed or rendered inoperable in war. Over the longer term, the advanced ABMS suite of sensors and ISR technologies could integrate onto a number of current and future air platforms, Air Force officials told Warrior Maven. Alongside this longer-term ABMS effort, the service is also identifying a near-term bridge or interim solution to meet combat commands while ABMS develops. Air Force...
You know what the difference between an Su-57 and an F-22 Raptor is? There's about 150 more Raptors than there are Su-57s.
Plan adjusts to advance threats. The U.S. maintains air supremacy. Its size, configuration, and radar signature are such that it could potentially be more vulnerable to advanced enemy air defenses. Clearly, the aircraft is not intended to fly at the edge of combat, unprotected, against enemy fighter jets and their defenses. The question is what kinds of assets, emerging systems, or supplemental technologies might be leveraged to expand its mission functionality in more contested areas. An ability to address a high-threat electromagnetic warfare environment, by any estimation, is a likely focal point regarding how best to equip large sensor platforms for future combat environments. Aircraft or EW countermeasures or systems designed to minimize an electronic signature is likely figuring prominently when it comes to operating in high-threat warfare scenarios.
I really hope what they do works,
Emerging
man.
assets able to perform these missions more effectively against extremely advanced enemies. Newer EW and sensor technology, for instance, are rapidly evolving such that smaller, better protected platforms might have occasion to track wider areas and increasingly longer ranges, all while maintaining a lower radar signature. Faster computer processing speeds, enabling a smaller hardware footprint, coupled with more hardened networks and data links, might enable smaller, new platforms to
Like, I hope they hook up the
organize,
ducts and
analyze, and disseminate crucial,
realize that it's not blowing out
combat-relevant
cold enough.
information in near real time. With emerging drone surveillance technology, historically thought of as providing a soda straw view of areas below, be able to survey wide swaths of dispersed terrain across a combat area of operations. Perhaps stealthy platforms, increasingly equipped with advanced sensor technology, could perform some of the wide area command and control missions currently taken up by the JST-ARS. It may be that a new JST-ARS platform could operate in tandem with other systems, networks, and aerial platforms able to assist the mission in higher risk environments. In fact, this kind of cross-domain connectivity seems to be at the heart of what ABMS seeks to accomplish. The current JST-ARS is based on a 4-engine Boeing 707. Of the 16 JST-ARS currently in the Air Force inventory, 11 of them are operational. The JST-ARS is the only platform technically able to simultaneously perform command and control as well as ISR, Air Force developers describe. The crew of an existing JST-ARS, which can go up to 21 people or more, includes a navigator, combat systems operator, intelligence officers, technicians, and battle management officers. However, technology has advanced to the point wherein a smaller crew size will now be able to accomplish more missions with less equipment and a lower hardware footprint. Advanced computer processing speeds and smaller components, when compared with previous technologies, are able to perform more missions with less hardware. The JST-ARS mission. Since its combat missions during the Gulf War in the early 1990s, JST-ARS has been an indispensable asset to combat operations, as it covers a wide swath of terrain across geographically diverse areas to scan
AC can stay broke.
intelligence and pertinent enemy activity. Although initially constructed as a Cold War technology to monitor Soviet Union tank movements in Eastern Europe, the JST-ARS has proven very helpful in key areas such as near North Korea, Iraq, and Afghanistan. The platform has also succeeded in performing maritime missions in the Pacific Theater, SOUTHCOM, U.S. Southern Command, and Central Command areas of responsibility. The JST-ARS has been able to help meet the fast expanding maritime demand for ISR command and control due to an upgrade of its radar to enhanced land maritime mode, Air Force officials said. JST-ARS is able to acquire and disseminate traffic digital map displays, force tracking information, and perhaps of greatest significance, detect enemy activity. Information obtained can be transmitted via various data links to ground command and control centers and, in many instances, connected or integrated with nearby drone operations. The current Northrop D-8C surveillance aircraft can identify an area of interest for drones to zero in on with a more narrow or soda straw sensor view of significant areas below. JST-ARS can detect enemy convoys, troop movements, or concentrations and pinpoint structures in need of further ISR attention. JST-ARS is a critical airborne extension of the theater air control system and provides ground-moving target indicator data to the ISR enterprise, Air Force officials explain. Ground Moving Target Indicator, GMTI, is another essential element of JST-ARS technology, which can identify enemy movements below. JST-ARS uses synthetic aperture radar to bounce an electromagnetic ping off of the ground and analyze the return signal to obtain a rendering or picture of activity below. Since the electronic signals travel at the speed of light, which is a known entity, an algorithm can then calculate the time of travel to determine the distance, size, shape, and movement of an object or enemy threat of high value. JST-ARS planes, which have been very active supporting combat operations in Afghanistan, have flown 130,000 combat mission hours since 9/11.
Yeah, how about that? Did you get any of that? I didn't even get any of that. All I know is I'm really fucking tired, man.
On April 23, 2019, the U.S. Air Force Research Laboratory, ARL, Self-Protect High Energy Laser Demonstration, SHIELD, Advanced Technology Demonstration, ATD, program successfully achieved a major goal. A laser developed as part of the program has shot down several air-launched missiles in flight. U.S. Air Force officials said the test was conducted at the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. The SHIELD program is intended to protect aircraft from incoming missiles. Viewers may note that the
what they
U.S. Air
doing?
Force contracted Lockheed Martin to manufacture the laser.
You hear somebody working on the house?
It's a game-changing technology in a true sense, and will transform the way air combats are fought in the future. In this video, Defense Updates analyzes America's Self-Protect High Energy Laser Shield Demonstrator, SHIELD, that shot down incoming missiles. Let's get started. This video is sponsored by War Thunder. There's from around the world. The dynamic of air engagement has changed in the last decade. Countries like Russia and China are fielding highly sophisticated air defense systems and are in the process of deploying fifth-generation fighter jets. In this situation, American fourth as well as fifth-generation fighters will find it difficult to penetrate the rivals' airspace. Increasing powerful air defense systems could be able to detect, track, and engage even the most stealthy jet, like the F-22 Raptor, in the future. The Russian S-400 is at the forefront of this. The powerful main radar of S-400, which has a range of 600 kilometers, is complemented by target acquisition radars like 67N6 Gamma D and 9N6 Protivnik G radars in L-band, Nebo SVU in the very high frequency band, and Nebo M and Zibu M in multiband. Nebo SVU and Zibu M is touted to have the ability to detect stealth aircraft. The radars are highly resistant to jamming and hence are hard to disable using electronic warfare. The situation gets grimmer in case of F-35 Lightning II, which will be most numerous fifth-generation fighter that will be available to NATO and American allies. Unlike the F-22 Raptor, F-35 has many compromises. F-35's airframe is not as stealthy as the one on the F-22 Raptor. Against X-band radars, it's only stealthy from the front and the rear. Against S-band radar, it's stealthy from the narrow front aspect. Against L-band radar, the limited reduction is achieved from direct front. It has a much greater reliance on radar-absorbing materials to maintain its stealth profile. Apart from the challenge coming from air defenses, it's to be noted that Russian Su-57 and Chinese J-20 fifth-generation stealth fighters are shaping up for full-scale combat deployment. These jets could probably get close to American fighters and fire short-range missiles, as well as get a lock-on with long-range, beyond-visual range missiles. Taking these aspects into consideration, America needs to develop a competent defensive weapon that will work in conjunction with stealth and electronic warfare to suppress air defenses and attacks from enemy fighter jets. The SHIELD program is developing a directed energy laser system that will act as a demonstrator for a self-defense system that could eventually enable aircraft to protect themselves from surface-to-air, SAM, and air-to-air, AAM, missiles. The system could be deployed as an add-on pod in the future. The test demonstrated the ability of the laser developed under SHIELD system to neutralize incoming missiles. The exact number of missiles that have been downed is not made public for security reasons. Dr. Kelly Hammett, director of AFRL's Directed Energy Directorate, said, "This critical demonstration shows that our directed energy systems are on track to be a game changer for our warfighters." Major General William Cooley, AFRL commander, said, "The successful test is a big step ahead for directed energy systems and protection against adversarial threats. The ability to shoot down missiles with speed-of-light technology will enable air operation in denied environments. I'm proud of the AFRL team advancing our Air Force's directed energy capability." The current system used for the test was ground-based and is quite heavy. AFRL's statement said, "The final SHIELD system, however, will be much smaller and lighter, as well as ruggedized for an airborne environment." It's expected that after this successful ground-based test, a test from a flying platform will be taken up in 2020. Lasers have some very important advantages. The speed of light enables them to hit their targets almost instantaneously. Laser weapons also don't need to carry ammunition like traditional systems, and hence they'll be able to take out a much larger number of threats, constrained only by the power supply limit of the platform. This is not the first time the American military has tested laser weapons. In 2010, the Air Force mounted and fired off a megawatt-class chemical laser from a modified Boeing 747. Things have changed since then, and instead of unstable chemical laser used for that experiment, solid-state lasers are now being used. Another test with LAWS was conducted in 2014. Laser Weapon System, or LAWS, is a directed energy weapon developed by the United States Navy. It will act as a short-range, self-defense system against drones and boats. Having a cost of less than $1 per shot, it's a very cost-effective solution. But missiles are much harder to neutralize when compared to drones and boats, as they're much faster, and the laser has very limited time to focus its energy on it. So this demonstration is an excellent achievement. There's still a complex technical challenge to miniaturize the current prototype so that it can be fitted onto military aircraft. But with constant funding and efforts being made, things are expected to fall into place slowly. It's to be noted that AFRL is leading the program to stop ground-to-air and air-to-air anti-aircraft missiles, whereas Missile Defense Agency, MDA, is studying the feasibility of using high-energy laser mounted on an F-35 to knock down ICBMs. It's expected that the result of this study will be available by the end of this year. Overall, it can be said that America seems to be winning the laser weapons race as of now.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting.
All right. The 2019 Chevrolet Sports Car Classic is this weekend. At Michigan Raceway. I forget what the name of that track is. If you're not subscribed to IMSA, IMSA, that's a channel worth subscribing to. Good street races. Oh shit. At least 11 dead, 6 hospitalized after a Virginia beach shooting. Damn. Another fucking mass shooting. Huh? One person in custody. Yeah, I guess it had been too long since we had a mass shooting, had it? Seemed like a regular occurrence nowadays. Nothing on acoustic brings that I've seen. 3 gangland shootings last week. Damn. I guess everybody's keeping their mass shootings to themselves. Voicemail from Trump lawyer shows possible attempt to obstruct justice. They've released the transcript. The voicemail from Trump's, the guy that looks like the rat-faced dude on Harry Potter. I mean, he looks just like him, doesn't he? That guy there. Isn't that one of the bad guys in Harry Potter? The one that uses the Authoritarianism spell? Bismarck. Oh, the Bismarck. Ship that was too heavy to fucking sail to begin with. Peter Pettigrew. Yeah, there you go. He looks just fucking like him, doesn't he? I'm so tired it doesn't even fucking matter what the hell I'm gonna sleep tonight. I'm fucking tired. Like, I'm so tired I feel stoned. Used to run a clothes shop that sold the school uniforms. Damn.
And now to tonight's politics. The word tonight is that the Trump partisan allies on Capitol Hill want to rough up Robert Mueller. The reason is politics. The president's allies want to discredit the special counsel and diminish his findings. They want him to testify before the Congress where they can assault him with hostile questions about the origins of his report. Anything but the report itself. The Daily Beast is reporting tonight that this has become the mission. Ever since Mueller declared on Wednesday he did not want to testify. In the report, quote, President Trump's close advisors are increasingly pining for Mueller to be dragged before Congress and subjected to conservative lawmakers' questions about the conduct and outcome of his investigation. Well, this clashes, of course, with President Trump's public call for Bob Mueller not to testify, a position the president repeated last Friday.
They want to do a redo, like even the fact that they're asking Bob Mueller to come and testify. He just gave them a 434-page report. He just gave that report. Why does he have to testify? It's ridiculous.
But according to the Daily Beast, the special counsel's 8-minute statement on Wednesday encouraged Trump's allies to support him testifying before the Congress. And now Rudy Giuliani says if they allow Republican Congressman Meadows and Jordan and a few of the others there, they'll eviscerate him more than they did Michael Cohen. In terms of the politics of it, I would love to have him testify. But in their call, that Mueller actually testified. They also wanted to testify, even though Mueller made clear he won't say anything beyond the contents of his report. Here's the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, New York Congressman Jerry Nadler.
Look at my big fat gut.
Mueller's testimony. I think it's very important that he testified before the American people, even if he doesn't say anything beyond what was said there.
Well, this comes Attorney General William Barr tells CBS News that he didn't agree with the legal analysis in Mueller's report. Barr says that he intervened to apply what he called the right law when he decided to announce that the president had not obstructed justice.
We analyzed the law and the facts, and a group of us spent a lot of time doing that and determined that both as a matter of law, many of the instances would not amount to obstruction.
As a matter of law.
As a matter of law. In other words, we didn't agree with the legal analysis. A lot of the legal analysis in the report, it did not reflect the views of the department. It was the views of a particular lawyer or lawyers. So we applied what we thought was the right law.
Welcome back, viewer number 2.
Mountain Lodge somewhere. By the way, it's about 90 degrees here in Washington. I'm joined right now by Democratic Congressman Madeline
Feel free to say hello in the
Pennsylvania,
chat.
who's on the House Judiciary Committee. Heidi Presley is a correspondent with NBC News. Asuwen Susai is the White House reporter for the Daily Beast that had this story. And historian John Meacham is the co-author of the new book with Tim McGraw, Songs of America, Patriotism, Protest, and the Music That Made a Nation. Thank you all for joining us. Congresswoman, I have to get to you on this point. This is a strange situation. Robert Mueller's been a hero for many people for the past 2 years, and now the goal of the Republican troublemakers is to get him up on the Hill, tear him apart on the origins of his probe, and make him look awful.
Well, thank you for having me on, and I am very mindful of the shooting that you are covering. Yet again, in this country, we've had another mass shooting, at least 11 dead. It's time this president focused on something like that instead of the sandstorm that he creates day after day. As to Mr. Mueller coming before Congress and coming before our committee, I am very confident that Mr. Mueller will testify credibly and that he will not have any problem handling the Republicans on my committee. We're talking about somebody who was FBI director for more than 10 years. He's been up against some of the toughest legal minds and adversaries. I have no worries. I actually think that reporting reveals something very different. I think it reveals a White House in panic. And so instead, I think they decided their message of the day would be, sure, let's get Mueller out there, let's try to scare Mueller. Mueller's not to be scared. Mueller's not to be toyed with. He will come and he will testify honestly and credibly. This White House is in a panic.
Way too countries.
That they want to get him. Who are they? On the Hill or at the White House?
Well, the people on the record for the story include Rudy Giuliani, John Dowd, Joe DeGenova, Representative Matt Gaetz, so people who, even if they don't work on the president's legal team anymore or in the White House, have the president's ear and speak to him regularly or fairly regularly. So, and again, there are both people within the administration and without it who are starting to form this consensus among Trump world.
Talk about how they think they can get his scalp, because the congresswoman says she thinks he's tough enough to stand up against it, but the motive they have in wanting him on the Hill now and wanting him under the lights, if you will.
Exactly. They really do think that if you get him in front of Meadows, Gates, Jim Jordan, that they will be able to essentially fillet Robert Mueller and attempt to publicly or perhaps even ritually humiliate him. At this point, it's about getting him out there so they can enact some sort of Trumpian revenge fantasy.
Well, let me go to Heidi on this. You're thinking about, hold on, Congressman, I want to hear from Heidi first, but what do you make about the fact they have made it pretty clear where they're going to buzz in on him? They'll go in on him on Strzok, the FBI agent who shouldn't be talking on email, but his girlfriend, whatever, Lisa Page. They'll go in on Christopher Steele and the dossier. They'll go in everything that undercuts, undermines, and sabotages his report.
I agree with the Congresswoman that Mueller is not going to be at all cowed by that, but here's what is going to happen, because we've seen it happen before, which is that they will create these made-for-TV moments that will be played in a certain way by Trump's allies, specifically primetime hosts like Sean Hannity. They will ask questions that aren't really questions, they're statements, and they will preen for the cameras, and they will be covered in a skewed way. That is why when we see footage on this network of a Fox News viewer earlier today saying that she thought there was nothing bad for the president in the Mueller report, you understand how even if Mueller gets up there and does a great job, knocks it out of the park, recites his whole report, simply giving his allies like Jordan and Meadows the airtime that they would get on Fox News by the president's advisor and friend Sean Hannity would serve the purpose for the MAGA crowd and further continue. I mean, if they can defile an entire institution of the FBI, they can certainly hurt one individual.
John Meacham's on. John, I just watched that 10-part series on the OJ trial. It was beautiful dramatization. I assume it's pretty much accurate. And what came across in that was that case, that trial wasn't about evidence, it was about attitude. The juries had an attitude, everybody had an attitude. Everybody did. And attitude is what ruled in that case in terms of the verdict. I get the sense the same day. The MAGA people aren't going to change their minds based on some little new incremental bit of evidence. They still have their attitude. We like Trump, we hate you guys.
Yeah, I mean, American politics has always been defined, all human government has been defined by the tension between reason and passion. And the OJ trial was a case where passion trumped reason. And in most congressional hearings, Chris, you know this as well or better than I do, going back 70 years to Army McCarthy or Senator Kefauver through Watergate. Remember the Chinese fundraising hearings, Iran-Contra hearings? They've always been, since the advent of television, they've been theatrical productions. And you know, with all respect to the Congresswoman, I don't think the White House is in a panic or any more than they tend to be perennially. I think that because Bill Barr stepped in and functionally made the Mueller report the Barr report, really, in terms of political narrative, a phrase that's overused, but in this case applies. Because of that, oddly, and one of the many oddities of the era, a report that is, to any sensible reader, self-evidently damning, has become, in this carnival-like atmosphere in which we live, has become somehow exculpatory.
Let me go back to the Congresswoman now. Thank you very much for coming on. What about the fact that they just have to mess things up? They don't have to win the argument, they just have to mess it up. So there isn't a clear-cut national
too crunchy.
To impeach.
Well, you know what, I thought this week the fact that Mueller on his way out the door chose to speak was very pivotal and important and powerful because what he said was read the report. America, you need to read the report so that you see the sweeping interference by Russia, the wallowing and welcoming of it by the Trump campaign, and then the obstruction of justice evidence against this president. Read the report. I thought that was really powerful, and what he also said going out the door was that now it's up to Congress. So I don't deny it will be circus-like, it will be carnival-like. We have seen the lack of credibility of the questioning that comes from some of my colleagues on the Republican side in judiciary. It will be a circus. They'll get sound bites on Fox or whomever they like, but more importantly, what will come forward are facts that the American people need to know. The American people don't have the time to read a 448-page report. So we need Mr. Barr to come before us and paint the picture for America of the damning relationships between the minions in the Trump world and Trump campaign and Trump administration, and the extraordinary bad conduct of this president in trying to obstruct the investigation into his behavior. We need Mr. Mueller to come forward. He'll come forward credibly. They'll throw mud, but I am certain that between the questioning on our side of the aisle, that will be robust and professional and based on fact and not based on faux, that the American people will begin to see this story, and that's what has to happen.
Yeah, I just think of Congressman as well said. I just think, Flynn, I can just imagine Jim Gordon with his white shirt on. You know, he always rolls it up. I'm ready to go into action here. I'm here to be fisticuffs. I'm going after. What do you think of this word? I read Peggy Noonan from the Wall Street Journal. I always read her on Saturday morning. I got an advanced look at it. She's calling for censure now, something short of impeachment, something that might even pass muster with the Republican senators.
Well, either impeachment is something that Democrats think is something that needs to be wielded for situations where you have a corrupt and out-of-control president, or they don't, whether it's politically or palatable or not. But that aside for a moment, one reason I think stories like this are important beyond the potential partisan theatrics that can come out of it is that it really does show and hugely underscore that the overriding principle and ideology of Trumpism in the Republican Party right now isn't immigration. It's not the border wall. It's not family separation or anything like that. It's fealty to Donald Trump. They wouldn't be doing this starting on Wednesday of this week if Mueller hadn't come out and publicly crossed the president. He did, so he must pay publicly and in a potentially humiliating way for it. That's why they're doing this.
Let me ask you about these characters on the Hill, because you and the Congressman have made it clear you believe, you have some confidence at least, that the majority of the House will be able to handle the drama. But these characters, Joe DeGeneva, Rudy Giuliani, these are street fighters. They've come out of it. They've been not in public life for a long time, but they came out for this particular kind of street fight. This is very gladiatorial what's going on right now. And they seem to delight in the chance of getting out there and trash somebody as dignified. In fact, they like the fact he's dignified. They can mess him up, Robert Mueller.
We do, but we have to remember, to the Congresswoman's point, here's where I'm going to make the counterpoint to what I just said before. This has to be done, because even though they will do what they're going to do, and that will get played to a certain
all the goods you're going to see
of the American public that, by the way, is not growing, it's static.
Mr. Conway's here.
Everyone else, you know, the independents, if you look at the polling right now,
Mr. Conway doesn't show up as a viewer. He is zero
right now,
people.
if you look at the polling, are very supportive of impeachment. It's not even close. That's true. If you drill down into the numbers, Democrats are supportive of impeachment, but it's the independents that need to hear the story. They need to hear not only the story about the obstruction, but about the pervasive attack on our democracy that included hacking into voting systems in Florida and Illinois, stealing voter data, spear phishing, putting up American...
What are you looking at that says they want impeachment? They want to be...
It's a Harvard poll that came out today. If you Google thehill.com, you will see that they break it down by partisan affiliation. And the reason why there's a split right now over impeachment, or why there isn't as much support for it, is because it's partisan. Independents don't support it. Democrats support it. Republicans really don't support it.
Congressman, what's it like in Montgomery County, up in your domain, up in Pennsylvania? You're home all the time. What are people saying?
Well, thanks for asking me. I had a town hall. You'll recognize the venue. It was at Montgomery County Community College this week.
Sure.
And more than 100 people were there in torrential rain, so I was very appreciative that they came. They wanted to know about substantive things. They wanted to know about health care and Social Security and their student loan debt and many other things. Gun violence was premier among them. But within about 10 minutes, I was asked the question about
it still hasn't cooled off in
the room burst in applause when I said I had asked for the beginning of an impeachment inquiry. So by that poll, it was 99% believe that we need to begin an impeachment inquiry, if not impeachment. I believe in process. I believe in starting the inquiry. The other thing I wanted to point out is not only do we want Mueller to come before us, but I was talking with our committee today. We're planning to have some
guys are out there with headlamps.
Now more than 1,000 federal prosecutors who have signed on to the letter saying that Mr. Barr misrepresented the report. And, you know, it'll be very interesting to hear from them because, of course, they served in both Republican and Democratic presidents, for Republican and Democratic presidents. So it'll be very important to hear from them. The other thing that I noticed in the list of people that we talked about today, whether it's Giuliani or it's Barr or it's Mr. Trump himself, they lack something. They lack credibility. And I think the American people see that.
Wow. Well said. Thank you, Congresswoman Madeline Dean of Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. John Beecham, I wish I had more time. John, are you for the pro-censure approach or not with Peggy Noonan? Where are you, John?
I'm not for it only because I think it's barely a slap on the wrist, and I think that if it were to fail, he would claim more exoneration.
Well said.
I think that based. I think you know what I mean. I mean, if you're gonna go for the cane, go for the cane.
Yeah, don't hit me with a wet noodle. Thank you, John Beecham. Thank you, Heidi Pressblood and Aswan Supsik. By the way, anybody normal, a normal president would be deeply hurt by a censure. This president, I think, wouldn't even feel the welt. Anyway, thank you. Let's get the latest, by the way, on that horror story down in Virginia Beach, which just broke this afternoon. The police chief said 11 people were killed. Another 6 were injured. The suspect was shot and killed by police. So we're getting that word now. Multiple sources tell WAVY, a local NBC affiliate, that the suspect was a disgruntled former city employee. Jim Kavanaugh, MSNBC law enforcement analyst, and Darren Porcher, former NYPD lieutenant, joined me now by phone. Jim Kavanaugh, what do we make of this? It looks like totally domestic, one of those postal office kind of things, something to do with office attitudes and horrors or whatever they were. Your thoughts?
You're right, Chris. You know, it's a man choking on an empty grudge. He's died in his horrible suicide mission, this time at the hand of the officers. But he's in there to kill everybody, and he killed himself. You know, it's an old formula. He's mad at his employer. You know, we call it workplace violence, but it's you know, sickness that pervades in America. You know, the mad bomber of New York City, George McCaskey, planted bombs all over New York City because he was mad at Con Ennis and his employer because he had hurt his back, so he decided to plant bombs across the city. So it's an old formula for violence. It's not new, but it keeps happening and happening and happening. And it is, you know, the country gets a grip on this thing. Mental health, firearms, suicide prevention, all those things come into play, and security.
And Jim, I have to ask you about this. It's like domestic violence. Is that one of the sort of the sins of horror that we just live with in any society where people have access to guns and they have emotional situations and some people commit horror?
Well, that's true. I don't think you can ever be free from it totally in a country as large as ours, but I think we could certainly reduce the amounts. There'll probably be some warning signs for us that came out. We'll learn days later that there was.
How do you reduce it? How do you
all right.
Something like this? Thwart it?
Yeah, you reduce it one way is with better gun laws. Let's see what access he has.
Did you notice I asked him if he needed a helper?
How easy it was to get. Unfortunately, it's the first formula for the mass killer. Hey, I'll just get some
So he told me to turn the fan on for an hour without the AC going. Let it defrost.
And there's political leaders that understand that. It doesn't mean any of these violations of the Second Amendment. That's just a canard
Holy
that's
shit.
thrown out there to scare everybody. Listen, it's not going to reduce anybody's legal gun ownership. It's going to stop these people. That's the first thing. The second thing is suicide always plays a role here. Suicide is endemic. Psychologists know, taking schools on it. We as police negotiators always look at suicide because suicide, you know, really drives people to do these.
Like 10 fleas on my feet.
And become homicidal suicide. Instead of going out in the field and killing themselves, they're going to go to the workplace and seek revenge.
Wow.
All the people that ever looked at them wrong and
I really hope my dad ordered me some flea shampoo.
And because they come to end their road, if they're suicidal, they're going to kill everybody. And of course, the other thing is recognizing the flight times. You know, what does the community have to do that, you know, in the mental health arena? And building security. I can tell you, Chris, when I heard about this, I said, unfortunately, municipal buildings, courthouses, hospitals, places of high human emotion. And when you go in those places, unfortunately, I've been in some this week. You know what? The security really is not that great. It's lackadaisical in my view. If a man can walk across the parking lot of your building, your facility, carrying a rifle, you don't have any security. And so, you know, churches, you know, municipal buildings, I hate to see these kinds of things. This is probably going to get down to workplace violence, so because there was an employee there. But there's going to be signs that were seen before and nobody acted appropriately.
AC is off right now. And in 1 hour, I'll have a verdict. See if it's actually going to blow out cool for me.
Hold on, Jim. We've got a report now from the mayor and police chief. They brief reporters. Let's listen.
This is the most devastating day in the history of Virginia Beach.
Right now, I can tell you we have multiple casualties and multiple fatalities. We have 11 deceased victims. They're at the scene. We had 6 more victims who were transferred.
I got half a mind to just take a nap until then.
We do know that shortly after 4 p.m. this afternoon, the suspect entered Building 2. He's a longtime employee of Public Utilities. I will not release his name at this time. And he immediately began to indiscriminately fire upon all the victims. Officers entered. Once the call went out, the officers were at headquarters. They responded to Building 2. They secured as much of the victims as they could, and then they engaged with the suspect. The suspect did shoot a police officer. Officers returned fire. The suspect is deceased.
There it is. Darren Portia, formerly with Darren Police Department. Darren, thank you for joining us.
What happened to the one in custody?
As this story breaks, this horror breaks.
Well, as a practitioner, this
They just made that shit up.
causes my heart to jump out of my chest. Because one of the first things that we have to take in consideration is this is a case of workplace violence. More and more organizations, particularly municipalities or municipal organizations, practice active shooter protocols. When we have a current employee, he or she would be responsible for participating in these active shooter protocols. Therefore, the shooter in this particular case would have known what the protocol would have been, be it shelter in place or evacuate, the response locations, and how police were coming, etc. So just from my experience in responding to workplace violence situations, it was always one that was troubling because the shooter, or I want to say the perpetrator in these particular cases, would have a greater understanding of the schematic of the structure than we as responding police officers. Therefore, my heart goes out to the officers that responded. I believe one of the officers was shot in the process. Generally speaking, when you respond to these active shooting cases, you have one of 2 options. You either evacuate or shelter in place. I believe in this particular instance, they sheltered in place. You shelter in place when the possibility, when the people, I should say the people in the building, would incur a greater amount of danger when they leave, when they were leaving the building, such as a shooter or necessarily firing from the windows, etc. So, in the case,
let me ask you about the officer. Is the protocol, is it protocol for the officer to basically have a showdown or to cover himself or herself? Is it to take on the shooter, you know, like at high noon, gun to gun, or is it to seek shelter yourself?
Well, over the last few years, that's changed. In the past, we had an operational plan, whereas the officer kind of waited for special operations troops to come in like SWAT and then converge on the shooter. That has since changed. Now, the first officer on the scene, the responding officer, is responsible for and the trained to confront the shooter directly. And that's what I believe happened in this particular case. Granted, we're speaking from a place of conjecture because a lot of the details haven't fully been introduced to us as the public. So we have to just, based on what path we do know that they were required to shelter in place. So going back to what you mentioned earlier, Chris, the officers are now trained to confront quickly, and I believe that's what happens.
Do you have to assume that the shooter, when you arrive at a situation like this from headquarters, that the shooter is in a suicidal mode? In other words, they're expecting to sacrifice their lives as part of this rite of whatever, of revenge or whatever you want to call it, that they know they're going to die, so they're going to shoot it out.
Well, Chris, these are the worst case scenarios. When you have a shooter that feels as if they have nothing to live for, and it's
I really hope what they did fucking worked.
because these are the individuals that will take out as many people as they possibly can and attempt to shoot the police as well. From my understanding, there was a methodical search. He went from floor to floor, shooting and killing innocent civilians. So when we have someone like that, unfortunately, this is something where we just have to neutralize the assailant as quick as possible. And believe it or not, a large number of these mass shootings result in people that basically feel as if they have nothing to live for.
Let me check messages right quick. All right.
It's going to be recorded, and it's going to be up.
And we're back.
But the point being that it's not just hype and hype, for weeks on end. I mean, it's going to be in the news today, and it can be relegated to the bottom of the page, because what we've seen, Chris, recently in shootings like in Colorado and stuff, where the heroes who tackled the guy, the students and the coaches, their names are up, their pictures are up, they're the heroes. That's what we like to see. Don't give these guys the infamy they want.
I love the fact we don't use their names. I hope we don't have to. Let me go to David Jolly, who's already scheduled to be on the program. David, as a former congressman, you've been involved in this debate of gun violence. This case, all cases are a little different. This is about apparently a workplace situation where the anger was, and the shooting was addressed at the fellow workers, perhaps the employer. And this is something I remember, we all grew up with the post office situations where there's a lot of pressure at work, a lot of unhappiness in many people in their jobs, and here we go.
Sure, and look, the national reaction typically follows a traditional narrative of heartbreak for the victims. We mourn as a nation for the lives lost and for their surviving families. We reflect on the valor of the first responders, and the chief was very specific to recognize the valor of those who went in the building. The police officer actually, who it appears has survived the shootout because of a bulletproof vest, I believe he said. But then the next step in the national conversation is always the public policy debate, the political debate, if you will. I was in the house after the Fultz nightclub when frankly nothing happened. We know after Vegas what happened on bump stocks took a year, and frankly that does very little to address the mass violence caused by access to firearms, high-powered firearms. We've seen Parkland, we've seen Pittsburgh, tonight it's Virginia Beach. Chris, we are a nation with broken gun laws. Not just easy access to guns, but our gun laws are broken. We see violence in the United States at a rate that we do not see anywhere else in the civilized world. And to deny the fact that our laws are broken is simply pure ignorance on behalf of politicians who would say such. We can debate the solutions, but what we know tonight, once again, we're reminded coming out of Virginia, is firearm laws in the United States of America are deeply broken.
Hold on, David. Let me go to Clint Van Sant. It's pointed out of Clint on tonight. Clint, again, we call you in at the worst nights, but here we are again.
Yeah, and Chris, you have covered these so many times, and me with you. And what your guest is saying, that's part of the equation. Part of the equation is that we've got more guns than people in this country. But if we pass the law today and said no more manufacture, no more sales of guns, we still have guns around 500 years from now. So part of the equation is the mental health aspect of it. For someone to commit one more senseless act of workplace violence suggests that one more person has not developed any type of conflict resolution skills other than mirroring what he's seen someone else do, which is go in and commit the ultimate crime against anybody and everybody. You blame one person, you blame the whole workplace itself. And so many of these individuals go in and fully expecting to die. And the question we ask sometimes is, well, if you're that bad off, why don't you just go out in the woods and do it, or go in your backyard and do it? But it's always the individual, and I'm supposed to some people who have survived these things, Chris, who are the shooters, and they have this imagined picture of their getting even, not just for themselves, but for everybody like themselves who've been in a similar situation and felt they were taken advantage of. But until we're able to identify an individual who's going into a crisis state, and when we, with the benefit of 20/20 hindsight, we find these pre-incident indicators on an individual, our challenge is to find those indicators and to get society, law enforcement, mental health community to do something about it, along with doing something concerning our guns in this country too.
Well, Clint, I want to ask you, because you're the pro in this. If you have 330 million people in a country and more guns than that, and it's just a roulette wheel that goes around and it's going to land on somebody. It's just there are that many numbers, that many guns. Somebody who shouldn't have a gun will get one if they don't already have one, and they're going to do something bad with it. Isn't this just a law of averages, unfortunately, in this culture? In this culture,
and I think that's the key issue, Chris, is that the guns are there. Anybody who wants a gun, no matter what gun laws we pass today, if you want to buy a gun, you can go on the streets of New York City, Chicago, LA, Washington. You can buy a gun on the street. The issue is that each individual who commits an act like this, by and large, it's because he's seen someone else do it. And it's the aha phenomenon. Aha, now I too know how I
Phenomena.
Score. And until we can touch those people, they're going to do just what you just said. It's going to be the roulette wheel, and it's this city today, and it's another city tomorrow, and it's not going to stop until we find a way to reach people before they do this. And that's kind of our crapshoot too.
Let me go back to
psychologists trying to identify that person.
Thanks, as always, sir. Let me go back to Darren Busher.
How about people stop being assholes to each other? Maybe that would help.
Let's talk about the good guys here.
'Cause I guarantee you this guy was treated like shit by somebody there. Just saying. I'm not blaming the victims, I'm just saying.
What does that person have to have in their head and their heart and their guts to walk into that situation?
If people were just fucking nicer to each other, in general, you wouldn't have this problem.
And I'm responding on many of these cases of workplace violence. And the first thing that goes through me is a chill goes down.
Never miss an opportunity to be compassionate to someone.
Violent situation, highly volatile.
Never miss an opportunity to show kindness.
Because we have a shooter. Once again, this is a workplace.
This sick individual who did this shit. He probably just wasn't shown any kindness for a long time. And that's what led him to do something like that.
Tactically sound as possible. One of your guests mentioned cover and concealment. That is absolutely essential. You want to establish cover and concealment every step of the way when you enter that building. Like I mentioned, that first officer...
Too much Fox News.
On the scene, he or she is responsible for engaging the shooter. Then the next thing that's going to happen is we're going to set up 3 perimeters. We're going to set up something we refer to as the hot zone, the warm zone, and the cold zone. The hot zone is the area where the actual shooter would be located. Anyone that's in that area where the hot zone is located should have body armor that is equivalent to the weapon that's being used by the shooter. The warm zone is going to be a little further out, but once again, those individuals should wear body armor that's equivalent to the rounds that are being fired from this weapon. And then you're going to have the cold zone. The cold zone is the outer perimeter. In that outer perimeter, that's where you're going to have uniformed officers that are setting up traffic blockades and cutting off pedestrian traffic from entering that facility. They're also going to check credentials to ensure that the special operations troops get in there as quick as possible. So going back to what you mentioned to me initially, Chris, that first officer is a human being. He's a person that...
Because I haven't slept properly for 2 weeks, that's why.
They're going to be nervous, but at the same token, they're going to practice a level of tactical vigilance. officers looking and
Jared, hold on there. I love the protocol information. Let's go to Pete Williams, our expert here on the law, and what we know about
That, and I'm severely depressed.
Pete Williams.
Well, Chris, tonight the mayor is calling this the most devastating day in the history of Virginia Beach. The numbers, 11 people killed, 6 people injured. We don't yet know tonight the condition of the people who were taken to 2 hospitals, 5 to 1 to another, presumably all with gunshot wounds, although authorities haven't said yet what the nature of their injuries is exactly. But this is a person, they say, who was an employee of this building. In other words, they say he was shooting at people that he knew. Entering the building just after 4 o'clock, about 4:30. This is the municipal building. It's in a cluster of city office buildings near the courthouse, near City Hall in Virginia Beach. And then the police chief says he just began indiscriminately opening fire. Now, we don't yet know what kind of weapon the gunman was carrying or how heavily armed he was. We do know that the police response was very quick because you've got all these city buildings around. You have this large police presence there anyway. They were in that building very, very quickly. And we do know that the gunman was killed in a shootout with police. And that one of the people who was a target of the gunman's gunfire was a police officer, but the police chief is saying that his life was spared by the body armor that he was wearing, by, in essence, his bulletproof vest. We don't yet know anything further about the motive. All they're saying is that this was a current employee of this municipal building. He's being described as a disgruntled employee, obviously. Earlier, there had been a rumor that he'd been fired, but the police chief said that he was a current employee. So we had sensed that this was a workplace shooting early on this afternoon when some of the witnesses were saying that they knew who the gunman was. So that suggested it was a coworker, someone they knew. We were just waiting to find out whether this was a domestic violence situation or workplace shooting, but it does seem now like it's the latter.
It seems that we've been saved from this particular category of mass shooting for a while. Remember, Pete, you've got a great memory. Remember all those post office situations that became almost classic?
Right, decades ago, and then there was a spate of them about 10 or 15 years ago, also in large industrial settings. But you're right, we haven't.
That's where we got the coined term "going postal."
So we're fortunate that they don't happen more often than they do. Of course, one of the questions is how did the person get the gun inside this building? But this was an office building, and not every.
So Karma replied to an ad for
you expect to see
a room for rent that I've been trying to rent out on Craigslist.
Concourses of airports, which is where most Americans would run into them.
And we just started talking a whole lot.
This building has metal detectors for people who walk in off the street. But this was the kind of place where you go into.
I've been getting kind of attached to her.
People about your water bill, to operations.
I just kind of have a good feeling about it.
Carry out the normal day-to-day operations of a city, and it did not have metal detectors, probably because there wasn't a lot of public walk-in. But that's how this person was able to get this gun in, and of course, an employee would know how to do it.
Pete Williams, thank you
In
so much,
fact,
sir.
today's the first day that I haven't talked to
By
her
the way,
for
Virginia
like
Beach
hours on end.
WAVY interviewed some witnesses at the scene. Let's listen.
Yelling and screaming, trying to get everybody safe, and some gunshots.
And when you heard the gunshots, what did you hear?
I've just gotten really used to talking to her every day.
Screaming to get down, and I was on the phone with 911, so I was trying to concentrate on
Mostly because she's nice
talking to them.
and down to earth.
Tragedy. Let's listen to what Virginia Governor Ralph Northam had to say on his
We make each other laugh.
Our folks in the hospital and just making sure that we take care of everybody.
Just seems compatible. I don't know.
Some further comments a little while later in the evening.
They say that 11 are dead when you hear that.
I don't know her all that well yet, but like,
Let me go back to Jim Cabot on this.
I like what I know
Unfortunately,
so
another case
far,
of a
you
guy
know.
I get to talk to in the worst moments of our times here. Jim, this workplace, as Pete Williams was talking about this category of mass shooting, what it seems to
Single,
be,
35,
people who
no
know each other
kids.
face to face, people shooting people they know from work. They see them at lunchtime. They see them coming and going to work. They may work next to them. They know who they're shooting, and they're killing them, killing as many as they can shoot before they're shot.
Already
It seems to
become
be
a pretty
that
close
kind of
friend.
An extremist thing. I'll kill till I'm killed.
No, that's right, Chris. And you know, what you find in these workplace shootings too is they'll sometimes skip some employees. They'll sometimes let some employees go because they, you know, liked them or didn't have a grudge against them, or they're an actual human person to their mind or something. Sometimes
I really like
it's
her
not every
voice.
single person. Sometimes they go for their
I find her
boss or
voice
the
very
person that
comforting.
turned them in, or, you know, the revenge. And as Clint said, pre-incident indicators. They're there. Everybody's going to know he's a disgruntled employee.
Got that
That's not
Minnesota
gonna be a
accent.
secret. When you go to his home life, there's probably going to be some indicators, Chris, of could be some instability of his life.
I don't know, I just like her.
Drugs or, you know, issues with him emotionally. He could have, you know, all kinds of things going on, and he could have had prior contact with the police. You know, the question of the gun laws, as Congressman Jolly was talking about, he's right.
She's been calling me on her breaks every time she gets a break from work.
A bunch of hurdles in front of a mass killer. There's hurdles to get over. And when the gun laws are better, there's more hurdles. It's not that somebody can't get over them sometime, but it's that most people can't. You know, the way it is now, heck, just go into the gun show and buy all the ammo you want. Buy all the guns you want. And you need more to kill more, get more. There's no restrictions. So it really plays into the killer's hands, where if he has to go into the back alley to try to find a gun, that's risk for him. Sometimes
Usually works in the evenings.
Jams, it doesn't work. Sometimes he runs into an undercover ATF agent or a police officer and gets arrested. Sometimes
She works 4 days a week, 12-hour days, I think. From like 3:30 to 3:30 or something like that.
Listen, I worked gun trafficking for 33 years.
So she basically works afternoon to overnight.
It's criminal activity. So that's a risk that we put out to the buyer in the black market, that he might be arrested, he could be hurt, he could be in jeopardy of you know, the criminal justice system or drug dealers or whatever. But we don't even have to do that.
Been calling me on all our 15-minute breaks.
Walk into the gun store, the gun show, you know, and without restrictions. So we need to tighten that up. You know, we're living in America, really, in the last 35 years, that's been designed by the gun lobby. They've controlled all the laws, all the gun laws in the Congress. The Congress will not budge on anything. They won't let anything get through. So this is America designed by the gun lobby.
Right, I think they're probably circling the wagons right now as we speak at the NRA and places like that, where they're thinking, okay, there'll be some heat for a couple weeks, it'll blow over though. People go back to their concerns. Our concern is protecting the rights to own a gun. Anyway, Jim, hold on there. The mayor and the police chief have briefed reporters just a short time ago. Let's watch that.
This is the most devastating day in the history of Virginia Beach.
Right now, I can tell you we have multiple casualties and multiple fatalities. We have 11 deceased victims. They are at the scene. We had 6 more victims who were transported to area hospitals. We do know that shortly after 4 p.m. this afternoon, the suspect entered Building 2. He's a longtime employee of Public Utilities. I will not release his name at this time. And he immediately began to indiscriminately fire upon all the victims. Officers entered. Once the call went out, the officers were at headquarters. They responded to Building 2. They secured as much of the victims as they could, and then they engaged with the suspect. The suspect did shoot a police officer. Officers returned fire. The suspect is deceased.
Clint Van Sant, let's talk about the kind of person who would do something like this, because we'll know a lot more in the paper tomorrow. By midnight, to know a lot more. But it seems to me being angry at your bosses is not a rare mood to be in. People get mad at their bosses. They get mad at their co-workers. They quit their jobs. They badmouth. I mean, these are all remedies for people in the short run, and they're normal. We live with them all the time. And some people always wonder, why don't they just go wash dishes in Oklahoma? Just go somewhere else. Why do you have to go back to where you work and shoot people? It's a subset of anger. Talk to me about the cases you've studied where people resort to mass shootings at the workplace.
Yeah, and the question, one of the many questions that Jim Kavanaugh and myself and others ask every time we see these is, why today, Chris? Why not yesterday? Why not tomorrow? What was the triggering event that set this guy off finally? You know, was it a confrontation at work? Was it a confrontation at home? Those are the things we have to understand. We have to know what the triggering mechanism is that finally sets a person off. And the challenge is, I've worked with companies. They've had me come in and they said, hey, we need you to talk to this guy because everybody in the workplace says he's been voted the person.
Because I'm tired.
Come in and shoot the workplace.
I'm not doing anything
because
I'm tired.
Tell him if he's going to do that or not. Most of the time, Chris, you sit down and talk to somebody like that, and there's a level of anger, frustration, rage, there's mental health issues going on, but many times too, if you can identify that person, you can talk to them.
I haven't slept properly for 2 weeks.
Is that we see these things. We see
I've been waiting on his AC to get fixed.
frustrated, rageful, depressed,
Hopefully it's
whatever it
actually
is.
fixed
And
tonight.
it's not my job. You know, I'm not my brother's keeper. I'm not supposed to find out about this guy. No, it's kind of what we need to do to protect us all. And whenever I teach workplace violence, you tell the clients, when you see something, just like in New York City, when you see something, say something. That should also be addressed in the area of workplace violence. If someone is talking about weapons, if they're angry, if they're talking about getting revenge, if they exhibit any type of mental health problems, these are the times as co-workers we should have a responsibility to tell someone, hey, this guy's got some problems. Somebody needs to talk to him and find out, is he the next shooter? Is he the next suicide person? Or is he just going to pick up and move to another town and wash dishes? But we need to have some way to interview those people and talk
Since
to
my
them
wife
before
left, you
they
mean?
act out. Because as you say tomorrow, everybody's going to understand. We're going to say, gee, I always knew that guy was going to act up. He was always crazy. Well, then tell somebody, you know that.
Darren, let's talk about the ballistics or the weaponry, because we'd like
Talking about a viewer, or you're talking about my wife?
We say, well, if you get,
I haven't been doing much since my wife left because I've been so fucking depressed.
They can't do mass shootings, but here is apparently a
Because my
single
wife
shot
left.
Weapon, apparently.
For another man.
Revolver, I bet it's probably a semi-automatic pistol, but it looks like you can do a lot of damage with a single shot weapon.
Let's see, hopefully everything won't be about the damn shooter.
Likes the outdoors. Matt likes...
Newest trade move against Mexico to protest that government's inaction on stopping migrants coming from Central America. A Kim killing spree? A new report claims Kim Jong-un is executing and imprisoning top diplomatic officials after the Hanoi summit went bust. But if Kim shoots someone in the middle of Pyongyang, will anyone from President Trump's base care? Plus, keep away. Joe Biden steering clear of a weekend showdown of the Democratic candidates in the biggest Super Tuesday stage. Is Biden using his thinking cap or kid gloves? Welcome to the lead. I'm Jake Tapper. We start today with our money lead and President Trump, who could be sabotaging two of his top priorities, the thriving U.S. economy and a replacement for NAFTA. He's doing this to try to force Mexico to help with one of his other top priorities, stopping illegal immigration. The president now threatening to punish Mexico with higher and higher tariffs on every single product that comes across the border until, quote, such time as illegal migrants coming through Mexico and into our country stop. The tariff will gradually increase until the illegal immigration problem is remedied, unquote. Investors nervous, and the Dow taking a hit today over the president's tariff threats, closing down more than 350 points just moments ago. And the president's plan quickly drawing backlash from even some of the president's closest allies in Congress, whose votes the president will need to pass his new trade deal with Mexico and Canada. But also, this all exposes a rift in the president's own administration, with his Treasury Secretary and the U.S. Trade Representative warning against this move. Though other more hardline advisors, such as Stephen Mueller and Peter Navarro, are completely on board.
This is actually a brilliant move by the president to get Mexico's attention, to get them to help us. Because so far they've just been standing by, and they really have the power to help us. The two institutions that have the power to help us are the Mexican government and the Congress. Congress has done nothing. The Mexican government can really help us here. That's what we're asking them to do.
CNN White House correspondent Caitlin Collins now joins me. And Caitlin, why now? Why impose these tariffs now? Illegal immigration's been a problem for quite some time.
Well, that's the question that the allies of this administration are having, because they say that this is going to potentially derail that new trade deal. But the president had been frustrated over the boarding crossing numbers, and they've been at an all-time high lately. And the White House is arguing that there is this crisis happening on the border. But what we know is this rollout was kind of hastily arranged, because they made the final decision to go through with this after going over it for several days. But on a call yesterday at the White House, I'm told, they made the decision to roll it out last night because they didn't want the details of this to leak to reporters. So instead of having this well-prepared rollout that some people think they should have waited for, they went ahead and published it. Now, there are questions, of course, because they're getting an earful from Republican lawmakers about this, who say this isn't the right move to take going forward. But the question is whether the president is going to back down in light of those concerns from lawmakers, and right now it doesn't look like he is.
And right now, somewhat discordantly, this is all
Let's talk about China's
negotiations with
fucking
Congress over this new trade deal with Mexico
stopping
and Canada,
rare earth
replacement for
elements.
NAFTA. How
That's
would the USMCA,
gonna
how
hurt
much
us even
danger
worse
is
than
the
this.
president's trade deal in on Capitol Hill?
Well, it was already facing bipartisan hurdles, and now it seems to be even more in danger. So that's the question here, because Robert Lighthizer, the president's U.S. Trade Representative, has been the one carefully trying to rally some Democratic support on Capitol Hill, especially meeting with Nancy Pelosi several times over the last few weeks. She's going to be the one in charge of bringing this trade deal to the floor for a vote, and she was not getting ahead. She did not get a heads up from the White House about this deal. So that's the question going forward, because not only was there internal divide in the White House over whether to move forward with this, but now the question is, what does this do with the relationship with Mexico? And we do know that Jared Kushner has spoken with the Mexican foreign minister, but the latest we've heard from the White House is that President Trump and the president of Mexico have not discussed this since the president announced it last night.
All right, let's broaden the conversation with the rest of the folks at the table. Tolu, let me start with you. Welcome to our panel. Good to have you. The president's advisors clearly split on the plan, and one of the president's top allies in Congress, Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa, said, quote, trade policy and border security are separate issues. This is a misuse of presidential tariff authority and counter to congressional intent. I support nearly every one of President Trump's immigration policies, but this is not one of them. But is there any real risk that Republicans on Capitol Hill will do anything other than issue statements like this?
There's not much risk that you'll see much action from Republicans in Congress. And in fact, Grassley was sort of the exception to the rule. Most Republicans largely stayed silent. You didn't see very many sort of coming out to support this, but you didn't hear a lot of opposition from the Republican lawmakers, even though, you know, behind the scenes, they are speaking out against this, talking amongst themselves, deciding whether or not there's something that they could actually do about this. But if you look at what the president has done over the past year, everything from family separations to shutting down government to shutting down, threatening to shut down the border, the national declaration of a national emergency, Republicans largely have stuck with the president. He's lost a few here and there, but for the most part, they have supported him, or they've bitten their tongues and not said anything. And I think that'll be the case here as well.
Are you surprised? Because, I mean, there are a lot of Republicans who really oppose tariffs, especially with Mexico. Cornyn and Cruz, I haven't seen anything from them. Maybe they've issued something, but I haven't seen anything. Theoretically, they would oppose this. The senators from Arizona, other Republicans from that part of the country. Are you surprised?
Yeah, so look, listen, I've heard the president talk about this, right, in the past. This level of frustration is at an all-time high, obviously, on this. And And I believe that he thinks that he is, in his heart, doing the exact right thing here. Look, unlike China, Mexico really can't punch back on this, right? In terms of, China now says, hey, maybe we'll not give you, maybe we'll not share rare earth minerals with you. Maybe we'll do this. The balance here is is Mexico has been sitting on their hands, doing nothing. As you heard Peter Navarro say right in the clip leading into this, there are two folks that can help in this, two different institutions, the Mexican government and the Congress. The Congress has done nothing to date, and the Mexican government has done nothing to date. And I think this is the president's attempt to try to squeeze the Mexican government. Remember, these tariffs only go into effect gradually, right? And then gradually, right? And so there's a lead up to perhaps the Mexican government might wake up and say, hey, listen, we're gonna come and negotiate with you, try to do something, because they've done nothing to date.
And there is a humanitarian crisis at the border. Let's show the pictures, the images that we got showing dangerous centers in El Paso, Texas. They found the center which can hold up to 125 people, holding 900 people earlier this month. So, Robbie, the question would be, the devil's advocate question, why not try something? These, literally thousands of migrants are crossing Mexico, and Mexico's letting it happen because they're ultimately going to go into the United States.
Well, first of all, the administration had faced this before when Obama was president, and what they did was they went to the root of the problem, which is violence in Central America, and really tried to fix that problem rather than just a bunch of bluster Mexico. The other thing to remember here is these tariffs, it actually worked, and the numbers went down, and these tariffs are on American importers of goods. This is a tax on the American people. Right. So it doesn't actually make sense logically. I think, sadly, because of the messed up politics of the Republican base, this is a very powerful message, so that's why the president's doing this. People think this is a way to create jobs by stopping people at the border, which nobody's ever proven that. I do think, though, you brought up the most important issue, which is this president has really bet a lot on this new trade deal. He has to have Democrats to help him with that. Why would any Democrat want to do anything to help the president's trade policy at this point? Because if you just don't know what's going to happen. You might wake up tomorrow and he's put new tariffs in after you just gave him some political equity to pass a trade bill. So I think this is really dumb for him in terms of getting that passed, and it's bad policy.
Well, and the thing is, Lighthizer actually felt like he was making progress with Democrats on Capitol Hill. Yes, the U.S. Trade Representative who's rallying support for this felt like he was actually making progress, even though it seemed doomed from the start. He thought he was making a little bit of progress before this happened. So that's why you saw him trying to the president not to do this. Now, whether or not this even happens is still an open question, because some people inside the White House don't even know if they have the legal authority for this to happen. They fear it could get tied up in the courts before June 10th even happens, or because the White House has not set a specific number they want to see, they think that the president could say, hey, they're apprehending more people, so we're not going to go forward with these tariffs.
Mexico sells $346 billion in goods to the United States. Politics now. President Trump finally has the Attorney General he's always wanted, Bill Barr, today in a new interview going on the offensive, saying he disagreed with the special counsel's case for obstruction of justice and suggesting it's the Democrats who are shredding political institutions by attacking President Trump. As CNN's Pamela Brown now reports, Barr continues to claim that the opening of the Russia investigation may have crossed a red line, though Barr also continues to refuse to say what that was.
They are comic refrains from President Trump.
Our Justice Department and our FBI have to start doing their job. And I guess you could say they're dirty cops. Courts seem to be so political.
But in a new interview with CBS News, Attorney General William Barr defended the president's attacks on government institutions.
One of the ironies today is that people are saying that it's President Trump that's shredding our institutions. And I really see no evidence of that.
Adding it's the people he believes are trying to take down Trump who are to blame.
Really changing the norms on the grounds that we have to stop this president. That's where the shredding of our norms and our institutions is occurring.
And while Trump has tweeted his opinion of the Justice Department many times, Barr says if the president has something to say, he would say it to him directly.
I don't look to tweets I don't look at them as directives or as official communications with the department.
The interview coming in the wake of special counsel Robert Mueller's public statement on his investigation into Russian interference of the 2016 election.
If we had had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so.
Mueller did not
cleared Trump of obstructing justice in his report, saying he could not charge a president due to Justice Department regulations. Today, Barr argued Mueller could have reached a conclusion.
As a matter of law, many of the instances would not amount to obstruction.
That's a matter of law.
As a matter of law. In other words, we didn't agree with the legal analysis. A lot of the legal analysis in the report, it did not reflect the views of the department. It was the views of a particular lawyer or lawyers.
A possible shot at Mueller, who made clear Wednesday.
We chose those words carefully, and the work speaks for itself.
Barr also ratcheted up his criticism of the origins of the Russia investigation, which he is currently reviewing.
I just think it has to be carefully looked at because the use of foreign intelligence capabilities and counterintelligence capabilities against an American political campaign, to me, is unprecedented, and it's a serious red line that's been crossed.
White House officials say they are pleased with Attorney General Bill Barr's recent interview. They are supportive of him doing as many interviews as he wants to do, they say. Now, on whether it's appropriate for the Attorney General to be criticizing the origins of the Russia probe before that investigation is complete, a White House official pointed to the appointment of a U.S. attorney to investigate the matter as proof Barr likely has concerning information to justify such a move. But, Jake, it's still unclear what exactly that might be.
All right, Pamela Brown, thanks so much.
This is CNN Breaking News.
And we have breaking news in our politics lead now. We just got our hands on the transcript of a very important voicemail. It is a message from President Trump's personal lawyer, left for former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's lawyer, and it backs up what Michael Flynn told Special Counsel Robert Mueller, that members of the Trump team might have been trying to influence him in his testimony. I want to bring in CNN's Shimon Prokupecz. And Shimon, what does the voicemail from the president's lawyer say?
That's right, Jake. This voicemail transcript, which we have just gotten from the court, was just released moments ago. And as you said, you'll recall that this was a voice message that was sent to Michael Flynn's attorney. That attorney and Michael Flynn turned it over to the special counsel's office because there was some concern that perhaps people inside the Trump administration, perhaps even his own lawyer, the president's own lawyer, John Dowd, was somehow trying to influence Michael Flynn's cooperation. And let me go ahead and just read this. It's a pretty lengthy voicemail, so I'm going to go ahead and just read it to you. And it starts out with a call from John Dowd to Rob Kellner, who was Michael Flynn's lawyer at the time. He says, "Hey, Rob, this is John again. Maybe I'm sympathetic. I understand your situation, but let me see if I can't state it in starker terms. If you have, and it wouldn't surprise me if you've gone on to make a deal with and work with the government, I understand that you can't join the defense." So that's one thing. If, on the other hand, there's information that implicates the president, then we've got a national security issue, or maybe a national security issue. I don't know. Some issue we got to deal with, not only for the president, but for the country. So then we need some kind of heads up, just for the sake of protecting all of our interests, if we can, without you having to give up any confidential information. And if it's in the former, then remember what we've always said about the president and his feelings toward Flynn, and that still remains. But, well, in any event, let me know, and I appreciate your listening and taking the time. Thanks, pal. John Dowd says to Michael Flynn's attorney. The key part here, obviously, Jake, is where he talks about the president's feelings concerning Michael Flynn. And that is where perhaps there was some concern on the part of Michael Flynn's attorneys that maybe the president was trying to influence his cooperation with the special counsel's office.
The idea that it's a phone call in which both Flynn's cooperation with the government is being discussed and the president having positive feelings about Michael Flynn being discussed, the idea being that somehow there's a suggestion by Mr. Dowd, the president's attorney at the time, don't say anything bad about the president, he wants to pardon you. John Dowd, that's the implication.
Right, and there you see John Dowd on the screen here. That's exactly the implication here, Jake. The mere fact that they're saying, hey, listen, you know what, the president still views Michael Flynn favorably. Maybe in the end, there could be some inferences here. You can see where folks could think, well, maybe they were trying to influence Michael Flynn here, because if the president's saying, hey, I still influence influence Michael Flynn here, because if the president's saying, hey, I still think very highly of Michael Flynn, I'll take care of him. Of course, time and time again, throughout the investigation, we had heard these kinds of contacts between people associated with the president and those who were cooperating with the investigation, where the president wanted folks to know, hey, I still think very highly of you, I'm still going to take care of you, do the right thing in the end. And perhaps this was the message that the John Dowd, the president's lawyer, was trying to send Michael Flynn.
All right, Shimon Brokipes, thanks so much. Let's talk about this.
So here's what Mueller wrote about this in his report, because we knew that there was a voicemail, we knew it was from a lawyer, we weren't sure who, but of course now it is John Dowd, and they essentially determined that this voicemail could have obstructed the investigation, but what they didn't know was whether or not the president himself had prompted that phone call, had told John Dowd to make that phone call. So in his report, and I'll be brief, Mueller wrote that the sequence of events could have had the potential to affect Flynn's decision to cooperate, as well as the extent of his cooperation, which we now know is pretty extensive. But Mueller says because of privilege issues, we could not determine whether the president was personally involved or knew about the specific message that John Dowd delivered to Mike Flynn's lawyer. So that's the question here. They don't know, and that's something that they didn't get because they didn't talk to the president himself.
You disagree?
Yeah, I mean, I just read it. It's John Dowd's the president's lawyer. He's saying, hey, listen, if you guys are going to cut a deal, you can't be a part of our joint defense pact. But we need to know that. If you have stuff that implicates the president, I understand that. It's a national security issue. You got to move on. I don't see there's any issue. I'd encourage everybody in America to go read it for themselves, because there's nothing here that says if you do something or don't do something, you're going to be part of it.
But
I think it's clear.
He's asking them what they told the special counsel.
No, he said, I understand you may not be able to tell me anything because of confidentiality.
Right, but he does say if there's information that implicates the president, we have a national security issue, so we've got to deal with that.
Yeah, we just like a heads up.
We'd like a heads up.
Confines.
Whatever you can say that's not confidential.
Right? I used to practice the law.
Right.
Counsel talk to one another during a case to determine what they can and cannot, how they can proceed. This is two lawyers talking about very, very sensitive.
Robbie, you're shaking your
They
head.
sound like mob lawyers. I mean, remember how we feel. Remember how we feel.
Really?
I mean, this is
John Dowd is one of the. So I would say this: John Dowd would take great umbrage with you calling him a
Let me tell you that there
Well,
is
what he said, the quote exactly without the accent is, remember what we've always said about the president and his feelings towards Flynn.
That the president likes Michael Flynn.
Sounds like mob lawyers to me.
Okay, well, I think any member of the DC
Let's let Robbie finish. Okay.
And look, there is so much smoke at this point. We're all choking, okay? And the problem that we're having here is that the guy who's an expert on all of this, Bob Mueller, is going forward and kind of speaking in subtleties and frankly is being quite vague about what's going on. I heard him say the president may have committed crimes, but he didn't say that. He said, if I had evidence, if I knew he hadn't, I would have said so. At some point, this has got to break, because the problem we're having is a bunch of people are lying, okay? And the people who know the truth aren't just putting it all out there. And that's why I think Mueller has got to get on the Hill. He has got to testify, and he's got to answer questions beyond what's in the written print.
I do agree with the idea that this is going to cause Democrats to want, even more so than before, Mueller to testify and to testify publicly.
Yeah, if you look at this within the context of the entire Mueller report, there are other instances where Mueller says that President Trump and his lawyers sort of dangled pardons, or said to Michael Cohen, for instance, before he started cooperating with the government, the president has fond feelings towards you, and then after he started cooperating with the government, the emotions sort of changed and it became much more acrimonious towards Michael Cohen. So I think there's a sense from Democrats that they need to find out more about what the president was doing, whether or not he was trying to influence the investigation. You remember there was this scene where President Trump let everyone get out of the Oval Office and then talked to James Comey and said, I hope you could let Flynn go. That was another episode where Bob Mueller said this could be obstruction of justice. So if you put everything...
But Barr disagrees, right?
But yeah, exactly. And two people were in that room, Jim Comey and the President of the United States. And, Jim Comey, and I'll push back on the strong, right? Because Jim Comey, time and time again, Jim Comey is the defender of democracy and freedom here. Jim Comey, under oath before Dianne Feinstein, when she said, why didn't you come to us and tell us this? Why didn't you come to us and tell us you think the president was obstructing justice? He said, well, I guess I just lacked the fortitude to do so. Jim Comey could have gone and that very first time. Instead, he went back 8 times. He could have gone to the Hill. He had Dianne Feinstein and many other members of Congress would have backed him up.
Let's talk about the fact that there is this different interpretation of these instances, because Bill Barr, in his remarks to Jan Crawford at CBS, makes it clear that while Mueller laid out a case of 10 or so potential acts of obstruction of justice, he didn't label them as such and said that he would indict, but it certainly seems as though he thinks they might be. Barr says he disagrees. This is what he said to CBS.
Many of the instances would not amount to obstruction. We didn't agree with the legal analysis. A lot of the legal analysis of the report, it did not reflect the views of the department. It was the views of a particular lawyer or lawyers.
Now, Mueller would disagree with that last part, because Mueller said made it clear that the report is his, even though he had a team under him. It's that he signed his name to it. It's his testimony, so he wouldn't say, oh, it's just lawyer or lawyers, and that's a little bit of Barr saying that is one of the reasons why Trump likes him so much.
Right, and it's Mueller's team, and he defended that report pretty strongly when he came out to the podium for the first time in 2 years that we've seen him. But you see Barr there taking umbrage with the special counsel's team, which we've seen him do before, especially when there was the letter about how Barr was handling the release of the report and what had been put out there. And so you're continuing to see that. But of course, you're seeing him say he disagreed with the legal analysis that was in the special counsel's report. That's not what we first heard from Bill Barr when he first came out after the special counsel's investigation was ended. So you're seeing him fill out his thoughts a little bit more during
and I'll tell you this, Bob Barr gets Bill Barr, Bill Mueller,
yourself.
Bill Mueller, Bill Barr, too many acts. But Mueller goes up before subpoenaed or not subpoenaed, he's going to say, read the report.
Read the report.
But this is the problem here, Dave. This is my problem, is you have an activist attorney general who's going out and actively spinning the American people, and I would argue told lies in his first press conference. And then you have the person who knows the truth, the taxpayer-funded expert on what has gone on, and he won't talk. And this is what we wonder why we can't seem to get resolution, because because the people with the facts are leaving a void.
He wrote a report, wrote a 400-page report, he didn't talk.
Everyone stick around. President Trump walked away from that summit with Kim Jong-un in Hanoi. Now there's a report that some of the top North Korean negotiators have been either executed or jailed by the Kim regime. The Secretary of State's response. Next.
Tonight, spend an hour with a man who needs no...
Dead or alive? A diplomatic source telling CNN it's clear the top North Korean officials involved in the failed February summit with President Trump in Hanoi have disappeared, but it is not yet known whether they were executed or imprisoned by Kim Jong-un, as reported in a South Korean newspaper. As CNN's Michelle Kaczynski now reports, one of the North Koreans who has gone missing met with President Trump in D.C. last year.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, traveling in Europe today, had very little to say on the explosive reporting out of South Korea that 5 of North Korea's negotiators with the United States have now been executed following the failed Hanoi summit with President Trump back in February.
We're doing our best to check it out. I don't have anything else to add to that today.
According to the newspaper Chosun Ilbo, citing an unnamed North Korean source, top diplomat Kim Hyok-chol, the North Korean envoy to U.S. negotiations, was executed in an airfield, along with 4 other working-level diplomats. The newspaper says they were charged with being recruited by American imperialists and betraying the supreme leader. Pompeo's counterpart, the former spy chief, tough negotiator Kim Yong-chol, seen here in the Oval Office with President Trump and Kim Hyok-chol last year, was allegedly sent to a labor camp. Even the interpreter, according to this report, has been imprisoned for making a mistake. CNN has not independently been able to verify this reporting. South Korean reports of North Korean executions have at times been inaccurate. But when rumors started to surface about possible executions earlier this month, Pompeo was asked about it on ABC.
It does appear that the next time we have serious conversations that my counterpart will be someone else.
One senior diplomatic source familiar with U.S.-North Korea negotiations says the 2 top officials, at least, have certainly disappeared. There's not any independent intelligence or information at this point on what exactly has happened to them. The White House saying only this.
I'm not going to comment on intelligence one way or another. I can tell you we're monitoring the situation and continuing to stay focused on our ultimate goal, which is denuclearization.
But executions are part of leader Kim Jong-un's style. Human rights advocates have reported witnesses saying he's had people killed by flamethrower, wild dogs, and shredded with powerful anti-aircraft guns. The U.S. believes Kim murdered his own uncle and his half-brother.
One senior diplomatic source tells us that Kim Jong-un did seem to be flustered and furious with his own team after Hanoi fell apart, even though there was no guarantee there was going to be any deal there. Remember, going into this summit, there was not even any agreed-upon definition of denuclearization. Jake?
High stakes. Michelle Kaczynski at the State Department, thanks so much. More than a dozen 2020 candidates are going west to Senator Kamala Harris's own backyard, but there is one key name missing from the list. Who is it? Stay with us.